safe. Hugs to Jim. All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
We were told to turn off them, so we don't.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing on this fine Wednesday morning?
Just Andy.
Oh my gosh. So Cam will be joining us from his house. It appears that the 4 or 6 inches of snow that they're getting out there is causing some challenges for him.
Yes. Oh, come on, he's got an Audi. He can drive in the snow.
What a oh snap. You made it back. You made it to the office. I didn't think you were going to be there, buddy, after yesterday's text.
Yeah, it took a few.
Yeah, get that. That Audi cruises in the snow.
How much snow did you get, bud?
About 6 inches.
About 6 inches. So that would come up to about my neck, right?
Yeah.
That would shut Portland down. Seriously. And
Yeah. 6 inches of snow. You put me out in the yard gnome, and all you would see with me would be from here down would be covered. So anyway, well, good morning, guys. I appreciate everybody sitting here being on time. Thank you very much. Obviously that meeting was canceled, MSPs, so didn't have to sit and worry about that. Anyway, so
half the people would have been trashed since they're in Mexico.
do what?
Half the people would have been trashed since they're in Mexico.
Well, I can tell you for sure, Andrew Herrick has been, and we, again, I'll tell you offline, but there'll be something I'll have to handle afterwards. So I just got off the phone with David and had a conversation about all that with him. So anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. Number one, let's open up the floor. What questions do we have? I mean, we have been basically a week and a half now into steps 1 through 5. There's got to be questions. I'm assuming. So,
I have one.
whoa, wait a minute, Mark in Dallas, dude. I didn't realize how just kind of weird you were. Now that you're this close to the camera, bro, I'm freaking now. So, you're on mute, brother, because I can't hear you.
Well, I'll switch places with Matt so as not to offend.
You know, I mean,
I don't want to offend your visual senses.
well, first off, you're on mute.
The perspective is kind of thrilling.
If you're having to have me help you with technology, you're in big trouble, baby. Big trouble.
That's why we have Cody.
Trouble indeed.
You know. So what questions do we have, everybody? What questions? Anybody? Questions.
I would like to know what the most common places are in the pitch where you get pushed back from a typical homeowner.
Well, so the push.
From a
That's a good question. I mean, it's a fair question. Part of the pushback starts in your warm up. I mean, you're going to get a lot of people that want to go straight to business right away. Mm-hmm. So you tend to get a little pushback there at times. You know, just keep in mind, we've got to be able to warm up some way, somehow. And sometimes you'll have to give up a little to get a little. So as long as you don't give up a whole lot, work continues to stay all business and there is no warm up there. Again, the purpose of the warm up, as we know, is to make friends. But when you get down into the close, the warm up is good for 2 things, if you guys will remember. Okay. Number 1 is to make friends, right? Number 2, however, is to gauge how long they'll allow you to close. Typically, the way closing and warming up works, they kind of work together. The more a customer allows you to warm up, typically is the same direction closing goes. If they're rushing you in the warm up, and that's all they do, you're going to get rushed the same way in the close. So to try to warm up a little longer too, and at least get some side of good warm up, give you an opportunity, chances are, to have a better close, especially when we start negotiating payment and things like that. Okay. So you'll get a little pushback there. You tend to get pushback in the inspection. a lot of times in the inspection, you know, customers want to tell you, look, I know my windows are bad. We don't need to inspect. We have to remember that the inspection, as we're putting it, is for us. I know you have challenges with your windows, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. That's why I'm here. However, that being said, in order to give you a correct assessment of things and to be able to offer good advice as to what I believe you might should or should not do, I've got to be able to inspect these windows here. All right. The easiest way I have always found is to sit there and say, look, I get it. You're interested in these 5, but these other 12 windows, there may be something that's going on here that I can see that I can't see what's going on over there. But that condition could still exist. Okay. So you tend to get some pushback there. Sometimes in the pros versus cons, you can get a little pushback there where they want to find out, look, that's all fine and dandy, but I just want to know what you guys have. All right. And we've got to be able to go down that road of shopping and taking the customer shopping, because if we don't, shopping is going to bite us in the behind in the end, because we know that that's what the number one reason somebody doesn't buy. Okay. We all know that, and it doesn't matter what city or state you're in. The one thing that I can say is none of us are unique when it comes to that. Again, we now have a visitor from Colorado. First night, her and I sat there and talked about this. Immediately was, yep, that's the number one reason why somebody didn't buy. That's what we get out there too. It's the same reason we get in Tucson. It's the same one we used to get in Dallas when I was there. Same one in Albuquerque, and the list goes on and on and on. So we've got to be able to sit there and help the customer go shopping, because if we don't, that is the number one thing that's going to get us in the end. So you tend to get a little pushback there. So your pushback tends to come from different parts of the presentation, you know, because we live in a world that's fast, right? You know, people today, if they want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, nobody, you know, goes out into the gym and works it off anymore. We live in a country where if you take a pill, you can lose sleep overnight. You know what I mean? We shop online. We buy our groceries now online. Everything is speed. So because of that, people are going to tend to sit there and rush you. It's like old people, right? You get our seniors that we're going to go out there and see. They're going to be one of two ways. Either they're going to want to talk your ear off and visit forever because they're lonely, or they're going to rush because they're used to being rushed. You know, you guys, everybody on this call, I'm sure has done it. I can tell you now, you know, being one of the elderly ones, I've done it. Okay. You're driving down the road. You've got some guy in front of you, speed limit's 50, and somebody's doing 35. You finally find a way to sit there and pass them. And when you do, you look over and you see it's some little old lady or some little old man. And the first thing you do is go, Jesus Christ, man, they guys shouldn't be driving anymore. Everybody's they're used to being rushed. Therefore, they rush everybody as well. Okay. So that is unfortunate, but that's the world that we live in. We live in a world of speed. Speed. Be quick with everything. All right. Good. So this is a problem in this type of a presentation for a lot of veteran reps that are used to pitching in an hour and a half. This could be a problem for some reps. Not all, but it can be a problem for some. Number one, it's, well, I don't understand why I have to do all this. I sold X amount of business, and my average time in the house is an hour and a half, you know. Customers are used to being somebody come in, measure, give them a price, and walk away. So your pushback, Miss Michelle, is going to kind of be everywhere, Mijita. It's going to be kind of everywhere, if that makes sense. Yeah. We just have to kind of navigate those waters a little bit and find a way to slow things down. You'll learn that as somebody is rushing you, this is a good thing to remember. When you get into a house and somebody's really rushing and they're talking fast because they want to hurry up and get through this, you tend to sit there and mimic that as well, and tend to want to speed up, and you tend to talk a little faster too. But as you're sitting there talking 100 miles an hour, and hey, look, folks, you know, how long have you lived here? As you're going through that, if you'll just start to slow things down a little bit at a time and take your foot off the gas pedal, like you tend to mimic your customer, a lot of these customers will mimic you as well. So as you start to slow down and be a little more deliberate in your delivery and kind of, be a little matter of fact about stuff as you slow down, you'll tend to start to see your customers slow down as well. It's funny. You get a bunch of people that are getting together and they're talking and everybody's talking normal, but as soon as they walk into a church or a library, everybody starts whispering all of a sudden. And when one person starts it, everybody does, which is so weird because I don't think God really cares whether you're whispering or not, but nonetheless, that's the reverence that everybody gives. Okay. So in turn, for these people that are speeding us up, we just have to slow our pace down a little bit, and you just a little at a time gradually bring it down. And you'll also tend to see a lot of times these people will slow down as well. Over the years, what I've always done, and I'm not saying everybody should do this, or some people can't, but I've learned to stutter, when I needed to. And a lot of times that'll help when I'm trying to get somebody that's speeding up. I'll start to stutter a little bit, and they tend to want to slow down, give me a chance. So, if I'm, we're sitting here talking about like steps 1 through 5, right? When we start talking about the pros and the cons, you start getting that way. People tend to start slowing down right away too, because they want to hear. And at the same time, they don't want to sit there and say, yo, dude, what the fuck, bro? Stop the stuttering, So 99% of most people are not going to say anything to you for that, So I've learned to sit there and stutter at times when I need to, because it tends to sit there and get people to concentrate a little more, which gets them to also slow down a little bit. So a little thing you can try to get in there over the years, I've just gotten used to it when I needed to use it, So does that answer?
Good, yeah, no, it does, and kind of along the same vein, it's okay.
I just started drooling a little bit,
Yeah,
so.
Well, if you just reach in your if you'll reach in your back pocket and put a little red hat on with a little yellow propeller, you get that drool going. That'll tend to sit there and get it to work also, You get that hat with the yellow propeller and a little drool, you can pull it off. So questions. What else other than that? Anybody? Quick question. I'm sorry?
Kind of along the same vein, is somebody else started talking? No, perfect. What would you say, what's your cutoff point for this longer process? Like when they say something like, yeah, I got 2 hours max today, that kind of thing. I might have to go pick up the kids. Like we do, there's a lot of maneuvering with this, especially with longer timeline. Do you have any best practices for when to reschedule and how to regain control over like examples of when that, I don't know, I feel like most of the time restrictions that I get are real. But like, I think people plan it intentionally, in fact.
Well, so here's what I would sit there and say. I'm going to go a different way for a real quick second. The one thing that all salesmen love to sit there and say at some point in time, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's anybody on this call that's never heard this before, I'm going to be very, very surprised. But if you happen to be the one that hasn't, then okay. But one of the things that we like to say as salespeople is that buyers are liars, right? But you always hear buyers are liars, buyers are liars, buyers are liars. Salesmen are funny creatures. Okay, we as salespeople, we're funny. We're funny people. We're funny in that when we don't sell something, we're quick to sit there and say, well, buyers are liars. I know this person was lying to me, blah, 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 blah. Because at that point in time, that excuse suits us. Because there's nothing you can really do with a liar for the most part, right? At the same time, too, when it doesn't suit us and somebody says something, we tend to want to sit there and say, oh, well, there's no way they're lying to me. I know because, I can tell when somebody's lying to me type of thing, right? But here's the deal. I mean, when we get out to somebody's house and we're gonna go out there and they've got 15, 20 windows on their house. The average person knows this is gonna take a minute. They do. They know that. And when we're going through our agenda, a lot of times you're gonna hear that, hey, look, I got a hard stop in an hour and a half or in 2 hours. We gotta dig in there for a minute and find out what that is. I mean, if they gotta leave to go pick up kids, obviously, we have a couple choices here, right? We can certainly say, yeah, I understand. I don't want your 7-year-olds out there. Or we can sit there and say, how old are the kids? Well, they're 7 and 8 years old. 7 and 8, damn woman, when I was 6 years old, I had a full-time job. We could say that too, okay? That's probably not the coolest thing to say, but we could say it and see what happens. So at that point there, I would probably talk to the customer and say, look, let's go as far as we can go. And when you go to pick up your child, that'll be okay. I've got a place I've got to stop by in the neighborhood anyway and get some paperwork taken care of. So if you're going to be gone for about 30 minutes, this will take me about 30 to 35 minutes. And then I'll come right back and we'll finish up. And then try to sit there and see if we can come back. I mean, typically if they're picking up their kids, for example, they're going to come home. They're going to get the kids home. Or if they have to leave in 2 hours because they have to go shopping. Well, we address that and say, okay, I'll do the best I can. However, let me ask you though, God willing, and the creek don't rise, we go beyond that 2 hours because you have more questions than you thought you were going to have. Are we going to be able to push this shopping off a little bit? Keeping in mind, if you're going to Walmart's open 24 hours in most places Walmart you're going to. So we just have to kind of navigate through that, play that by ear, Michelle. You'll know when you're supposed to. I mean, it's going to be an obvious one. You'll typically know. But we have to just make sure that we're not buying stories because we don't like what's really being said at the time when we get there. You get that customer that is swearing on a stack of Bibles and a pile of rosary beads, neck high to a giraffe that they're just not going to buy windows today. All they're doing is window shopping. They're kicking tires and stuff like that. They never make a one-day decision. My husband and I always pray about it. And we think about things for 5 days, and we tend to sit there and get 9 different estimates. And we talk to 3 different priests, and our puppy. And then we make a decision. Okay. When you start to hear that, that's got to be one of those things that goes in one ear and out the other, really. It's got to go in one ear and out the other. Okay. And the reason I say that is this is where a rep gets themselves into trouble. Is they hear that, they buy into it. So when this person says, well, look, I got a hard stop because I have to go to lunch with somebody at 2 o'clock. We don't want to sit there and try to keep them there because we've already bought into the story that I'm wasting my time because they're not going to buy. Okay. So that's the part where we have to have short time memory there, in one ear and out the other, garbage in, garbage out type of thing. So you just have to kind of navigate through that. I don't have the perfect answer for it. I can just tell you, this is one of the things we'll have to go through. We have to do it now, even if we're pitching this way versus the Apex way. We still have to. We tell somebody at the door 60 to 90 minutes. These people have 45 minutes when we get there. If you were to tell them at the door, this is going to take 2 to 2.5 hours, they all of a sudden only have an hour and a half. If we told them it was going to be 5 hours, they only have 3.5 hours. They're going to shorten up their time just because, again, we live in a world that everything is all speed. Everything's speed. Okay. Everything is hurry up. So hopefully that answers Miss Michelle in a roundabout way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alex had a question. Alex, your question.
When you introduced the other type of vinyl, like yesterday, you were like, "Oh, we have this other type of vinyl. It's thicker gauge." Do you say that's us right there? Do you say that's Apex? Do you leave that ambiguous till later on? So when you
Yes, so that's a good question. For those of you who did not hear that, this is the second time I've heard this question in the last 24 hours. Okay, when we're in the pros versus cons, and we're talking about vinyl. And we tell everybody, that there is virgin vinyl, there's 60-40 split, there's reprocessed vinyl. Here are the challenges, the pros versus the cons. And then we start saying there is another type of vinyl where it has a thicker gauge and there's this. To use Alex's words here, yes, we want to remain ambiguous there, okay? The goal here is not to tell them anything that we are doing. Because the moment you say this is we, the customer will immediately feel like we're trying to push them in that direction right away. Okay. Typically, when people are sitting there from other companies like Renewal by Anderson, for example, for the reps that do the pros versus cons, and there are a lot that do, they always leave Fibrex for last. If Pella's doing it, they always leave the Duracast for last. So the average customer is expecting the last thing to come out is probably going to be yours. You know, here's everybody else, but here's this, and this is us, and this is how great we are. So when we're talking about that vinyl that is a thicker gauge, that has more UV protectant in it, that does cover warping, things like that in writing, and it cuts back on the pitting, and it cuts back on being brittle, and those things there. That's just another option for the customer. You know, we don't want to let them know that that's us, because we don't want to get them the feeling that we're just trying to push them to our product. So keeping it ambiguous, as you put it, which I don't even know how to spell that, but I know what it means though. You know, so that would be the way to go. So that's twice that I've heard that now in 24 hours. Yes.
So explain.
No, go ahead, Cameron. What was your question?
I know I asked you that yesterday. I want to tag along on that. And if you're going in depth with it later, we can move on. But I was curious, how do we kind of finesse that? Like they're gonna pick the one that is Apex.
Well, so that's a good question. Did everybody hear what Cameron asked?
No.
Okay, what Cameron asked was, when we're explaining the quote unquote other vinyl R window, how do we sit there and make it so that they are gonna pick us?
Well, through all the pros and cons.
Through all the pros and cons that we're
How do we
doing.
know that they're gonna like that's the one and that.
They're gonna pick it, right? So how do they know that that's the one that they're going to pick? How do we know that? All right, well, it depends on how you start out with the pros versus cons, all right? When I'm in the house every single time, what I tell everybody is what you heard me say yesterday. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, there are 5 different types of frames. There's aluminum, there's vinyl. There's actually 3 different types of vinyl that we'll get into. There's also fiberglass wood, and then a wood composite called Fibrex, which is put out by Renewal by Anderson. Now, the question on the table here is, what frame is going to be best for us? Okay. Here's what I would sit there and tell you folks. You know, Benjamin Franklin used to sit there and say that if you're not sure of what to do, you should take a blank piece of paper, draw a line down the center, put the pros on one side and the cons on the other. And typically when the pros outweigh the cons, you probably should do it. And if the cons outweigh the pros, you probably shouldn't. So let's get into that for a minute. So when you start putting the pros versus cons, and you start seeing this many pros and this many cons on everything, then when you're showing the one frame where the pros are much bigger than the cons, they'll tend to automatically go to that, because that's the seed you planted in their head when you told them that if the pros outweigh the cons, you probably should do it. And if the cons outweigh the pros, you probably shouldn't. Okay. So by doing that and saying, okay, look at all the problems with vinyl, it chips, fades, peels, pits, warps, bubbles up, blah, 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 blah. And then we talk about technically our frame, and we can take away from warping, and we can take warping out of the cons, and we can take pit out of the cons, and we can take brittle out of the cons, and we can take fading out of the cons. All of a sudden, that list for that vinyl all of a sudden shrinks, and the pros all of a sudden start to get bigger. So as a rule, the customers generally will pick that because that's the seed we planted in their head. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
You could change your body language cues when you do that one, like sit up a little taller, smile harder, do any of that.
I would sit there and say probably so. For me anyway, I've been doing it for so long, that actually just naturally comes out now that way. But I do know when I'm explaining the pros versus cons, and as you guys see, I talk a lot with my hands. I say boss a lot. I say partner a lot. You know, I say folks a lot. I use us a lot, you know, when I'm talking about pros versus cons, you know, which one would be best for us, not for you. I try to make it a true blue partnership. Way before I started coming and working for Apex and hearing all this partnership stuff, I've always talked that way to try to get the customer and myself to identify with each other and get them to understand we're both in this boat here. We're both in this boat, okay? Even when I'm talking about the company and, you know, the portion where you see it and the bullet points where I have on there, the homeowner survey, if you will, you know, this homeowner survey is important to us and it should be important to you folks. This is a partnership we both have here, okay? You have say so in this company. A lot of people do, you know, for example, booties. Here's where we learn that from somebody like yourself. Asking, should we take our shoes off? We learn that from somebody like yourself. The input's very important to us because without the input, we don't make the correct changes. We don't become a profit and growing company and be a better company. We don't stick around. We don't stick around. Who's going to warranty? You know, who's going to warrant your shit? So this is a partnership. This is us. We are in this together. So I try to keep it as much about us and that we're both in this together in this journey, if you will. Okay. So do I sit there and do that? I probably do. I don't know. You know, I've just been doing it for so long. But I do know that, again, you know, check this out, boss. You know, we're talking about vinyl here, but look, what they don't tell you and other companies don't say is that you have vinyl windows out there with more UV protectants. However, within those protectants, here's the advantage to that. It doesn't pit the way this vinyl, that other vinyl windows do. It's not going to be near as brittle. Okay. It's not going to fade out as well as the way either. At the same time, because some of these are also a thicker gauge, for example, the warranty is going to actually cover warping without having that part in the warranty that says under normal condition, you know? So, you know, and I'll do one of those. So, you know, there is a better way to go in vinyl despite some of the challenges that are out there. Okay. That being said, the next thing is going to be fiberglass, and I just keep going from there. But if you plant the seed correctly and you do your job right, they're more often than not, they're going to go directly to what they see. Their eyes tells them two things. There are more pros than there's cons. And at the bottom where we're putting dollar signs there, they like that dollar sign. Okay. So that's a big deal there. And they'll tend to want to move to that. All right. We just want to watch out for words that we use when we're talking about aluminum. Aluminum is just a cheaper product. It is what it is. You know, this type of vinyl is just a cheaper product. However, when you're sitting there and talking about, say, wood or Fibrex or fiberglass, we want to stay away from cheap, and we want to use terminology such as, you know, this comes at a much higher price point. Fibrex comes at the highest price point in the industry that there is. Somebody has to be the most expensive. Renewal by Andersen has chosen to be that somebody. And there's nothing wrong with that because clearly they're very proud of their product and it is a good product, you know. But this is where we're at. It is the most expensive. Okay. So you just got to kind of watch some of the words that you're using. I would sit there and say, is that, you know, does that help?
Yeah.
Does that help everybody?
Yeah.
What other questions do we have? Anybody else?
Are you going to, at the end of this, allow us to see you physically perform any of this? For us to record and stare out at it late at night when we're.
Are you talking about watching me in a house, or are you talking about doing a full-blown presentation and using two actors, for example? Which one are you talking about?
The either one, just you actually like physically doing the movements of the pitch.
Yeah, 100%. We can certainly schedule something for that when this is over with. I'm certainly okay with that. The reason I was asking is because, well, if there's 16 or 17 of you, that's gonna make it a little difficult for me to get live in a house with everybody. But you know,
That's reasonable, really.
that's gonna be rough, you know. But beyond that, though, absolutely, we can certainly do that. I certainly don't have a problem with that. So I guess the answer to the question is yes, ma'am. We can. Okay. What other questions do we have?
I've got a question. So when you talk about step 4 with the company, at the end of the company, when you're kind of talking about the warranty, you're not getting in depth with the warranty, because then in this step 5, you're kind of saying the warping and the hitting. If we had explained in step 4 that our warranty covers that stuff and we're different, we're not getting that in depth, or else they kind of know that, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So typically when I'm doing, but you know what, that's a good question. It reminds me of something else too. So let's cover that. So when I'm going through the company presentation and I'm telling everybody, look, we started out in 1998, blah, 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 25 offices, almost 26 years in business. You know, one of the great things about us is we are a true blue full service company, true blue meaning. You know, we test all of our own product, we ship it, blah, blah, blah. We go through all of that. Okay. I go through all of that. Before I talk about the warranty, though, the one thing that I will caution you and very much encourage you to do, you must address the Better Business Bureau. You must address negative reviews. You must. You cannot run from it. You damn well better sit there and address it. You might as well. You got to get ahead of it. Okay. Now, for the most part, you know, do I think, me personally, just in Terry's own little bubble, for the most part, I myself don't give a crap, to be honest with you, about online reviews or the Better Business Bureau and all that crap. I just don't. I think it's an overrated thing, personally. Case in point, every office here has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. I looked everybody's up, except for Seattle.
What did you guys do?
Seattle has a C+ rating.
Oh,
Seattle has a C+ rating. And despite that, look at the success they have. Okay. However, we do run across people that matters. All right. So we have to address it and we have to get ahead of it. Looking at your Better Business Bureau rating, for example, even though you may have an A+ rating, you're going to have some negative shit in there, chances are. Then get into it and actually read it. Don't just look it up and say, well, we have 9 complaints, 5 of them are about the product. That's bullcrap, because the Better Business Bureau is terrible about categorizing everything where it should be. They are terrible, 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 terrible. And what you'll find is most complaints that you have is with a customer that we don't even have our windows in their freaking house. They don't even have our windows or our doors. They're complaining because a canvasser knocked on their door. They're complaining because they bought windows. They decided to take advantage of 3-day right of rescission, and they canceled on a Monday, and they expected their money to be back on Tuesday. So they're complaining about that. And every person that you talk to says the same thing. Well, my credit card company, that money is back right away on a reversal. What a load of bull crap that is. What a load of crap. So you have to address that. So to me, where I address it at is when I start talking about the homeowner survey, and I start talking about why it's important to us and explain all the things I explain. At the same time, too, I'll tell them, however, okay, if you'll check with the Better Business Bureau, what you'll find is we have an A+ rating. However, there are 9 complaints in here. Keep in mind, of the 9 complaints, 7 of them were people that don't even have our product in the house. They were upset because we knocked on their door. Well, that doesn't make us a good or a bad company just because we knocked on their door. You didn't like it. All right. I don't know if it's still this way because I didn't look it up. But if you look up Pella in Dallas, the Pella store in Plano, in 2019 and 2020, we had an F+ rating, a freaking F. We had 9 or 8 complaints, all bad. But when you read the complaints, they were the dumbest things I ever heard. One of them was a customer that was complaining because they bought windows in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which we don't even go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. How that ended up on our Better Business Bureau deal, I have no idea. We had another one there where all the complaint was, and I quote, I am in law enforcement. I should be receiving this propaganda at my house. The question was, what would you like us to do about it? What kind of resolution would you have? Would you want? I am law enforcement. I shouldn't get this propaganda at my house. What would you like to be done? I am law enforcement. And it's repeated 4 different times in the Better Business Bureau report. What in the month crap does that have to do with anything? I don't know. Another one sat there and was upset because we knocked their door. Actually put in the review and the complaint not to do business with us because we're spreading death because of COVID. Verbatim in writing, that's what it says. All complaints that were on there, not a single one of them had our product from Dallas at all. Yet we had an F+ rating for that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind too, the Better Business Bureau keeps track of crap. It's 3 years, guys. 3 years. So if you have 20 complaints in the Better Business Bureau, that's 20 complaints over a 3-year period. 3 years. At the end of the 3rd year, whatever's 3 years old comes off the Better Business Bureau report, kind of like your credit bureau, right? Anything at 7 years starts popping off. So what you're reading and what a customer is reading is 3 years, for Christ's sake. So even if you had 30 negative reviews in there, that's over the course of 3 years, for Christ's sake. That's 10 a year, for crying out loud. So maybe we have to have a different conversation with somebody, okay? I literally had this conversation about 11 days ago with a customer that called up and wanted to cancel in Phoenix because I read a Better Business Bureau and an online review that said this, and this. I says, okay, and what does that even mean? She says, well, you guys got a negative review in there. I said, look, if a negative review is going to keep you from doing things, I said, with all due respect, Mr. Taylor, here's what I'm going to tell you. I said, don't take this the wrong way, man, but you might as well just hang yourself, bud. You should just hang yourself. I said, but you know what, though? Never mind. I said, you can't really hang yourself. You know why? Because somebody complained about the rope you were going to use. Therefore, you can't use that. You can't really sit there and shoot yourself because somebody complained about that weapon and the ammunition that's in it. You can't walk out in front of a bus because somebody complained about the bus. You'll never be able to sit there and put your money in a bank because somebody's complained about that bank. So you got to take the cash out and put it at home in your mattress. Wait a minute, though. You can't really do that, can you? Because somebody complained about the freaking mattress, right? And the house that the mattress is in, you can't really live in that house because somebody's complained about that builder in that house. If that's what we have to tell somebody to get them to understand complaints happen, then damn it, that's what we have to do. But you have to address it and get into it a little bit, because if you don't, here's the challenge. Before you've gone out to that house, chances are the average person has looked us up and all that stuff. By addressing it and pointing certain things out, it makes it look like we're not running from it. And then you get get the customer's euphoria, if you want to call it that, of, okay, all right, straight up people. I read that. That's what I read it. They may not say that to you, but that doesn't mean they're not thinking it. Or you can guarantee that after you leave, they're going to dive right into the online reviews in the Better Business Bureau and see what's going on. In which case that may sit there and keep them from calling you back or cause a cancellation. So you might as well deal with it and address it. So that's when I do it, is when I'm talking about the homeowner survey. In a perfect world, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, obviously what we're shooting for is a 5 out of 5 stars every single time. Now on a national level, we have a 4.8 Google rating. Not exactly perfect, but then who is? However, at the same time, speaking of imperfection, if you'll check with the Better Business Bureau, you'll find this. If you'll check with some online reviews, you'll find this. Okay? Keep this in mind. Most of these customers aren't even customers of ours. They have no products of ours in their home whatsoever. Now, on a good note, though, however, all of our product comes with a lifetime warranty. Lifetime warranty meaning, for as long as you own or remain in the house, if you have any challenges with the product, pick up the phone and give us a call. Your warranty will take care of that. The obvious stuff that we don't cover is, anything that's covered by your insurance, right? Fire, floods, act of God, civil unrest. If the Cubans decide to come up through Mexico and cause a war in your backyard, now you call the military for that. Your warranty's not going to cover that. That type of thing, folks. Any questions about my warranty, folks? No. Fantastic. You have any questions about my company? No. Fantastic. Let me ask you a question then. Based on the information I've shared with you about our company, does does Apex Energy Solutions sound like the kind of company you would entrust your home to?
Nice slip.
Sorry. I've been with too many companies, guys. Sorry about that. So does Apex Energy Solutions sound like the kind of company, at the very least, you can entrust your home to? Okay. So that's how I would do the warranty and explain it, but make sure that you cover negative reviews and get into some of this and become readers of your reviews. Become readers of the reviews so you can push things back. You know, it's very discouraging as a manager to hear, you know, what happened. Well, they looked us up in the Better Business Bureau and they saw this, this, and this. You know, how did you combat that? Well, I mean, what do you want me to say, man? It's there, you know, it's there in writing. Well, did you read it? Did you actually see the challenges it is and what it's actually saying? But what you'll be surprised is a lot of people that complain don't even have our product in their home, whether it be Google or not. You know, Window Man came out here and spent 3 hours at my house. You know, that is ridiculous. I got more to do with my time. My time is valuable to me, you know. So how does that make you a bad company because you've been there for 3 hours? How does that make you bad? How? Because you were there 3 hours. Well, there's 24 hours in a fucking day. If I was there for 24 hours, I could see a problem. But so you were there for 3 hours. And what's the problem there? I don't understand the problem. Okay. So that's what we have.
One quick
Yep.
question. In Portland, we don't have an Apex Energy Solutions under Better Business Bureau. I'm pretty sure it used to say that. But I was able to find Great Day Improvements LLC in Portland, Oregon, and it's got the Apex logo there. Does have 5 out of 5, 2 reviews, but do you know, I should get that switched over probably, or do you think maybe not because they can't find anything negative? What are your thoughts? Do you know how to switch that?
No, I don't know how to do it. We'll have to sit there. We got to get somebody from corporate to do it, but I thought I didn't see one for you. And Dallas, I don't think you have a BBB deal up there either, do you, Mark?
I don't think,
I'm sorry, Mark?
no.
Yeah. So those 2 locations there, you need to look into that. Because we need to be in the Better Business Bureau. There are people that still look at the Better Business Bureau. Okay. So anything that we can do to help ourselves or to be able to find out what's out there that we can combat against when we're in a house, we have to do. So I'll check with Heather a little later on today and see where we got to go for that.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome. Okay. So in the company though, that's where I cover that. Is there because people are going to read it. Not everybody, but we have to address it for the ones that will, though. You know, we have to address it for the ones that will. Not to mention some of the complaints that you see is stupid anyway. You know, I was reading one, this place in Phoenix called the Little Red Wagon or some bull crap like that. Anyway, it's a barbecue joint. And one of the reviews I was reading was so funny because the lady sit there and it is a lady, you can see her picture and all. She says, you know, I will never come back here again. You know, I've been coming to this restaurant for 6 years and I've never had a problem. But this time here, you know, my mashed potatoes came in cold and, you know, the waiter wasn't attended to us. I had to ask 3 different times for a refill on my Coke. You know, what piss poor service. Wow, really? Really? You're going to be an asshole because you had a bad day out of 6 freaking years. Really? Really? You're that entitled? Those things we have to pull out, okay, and be able to sit there and say, hey, look, I need you to read this. Check this out. You know, the other thing, too, that some of the reviews that I've read, we get lumped up in Allsite, just so you know. We get lumped up in that, okay? One of the jobs that we sold in Phoenix, the only reason why we sold it is because we're doing our own window now and we're not doing Allsite because there were so many complaints about Allsite. Once the guy found out and, you know, we told him, well, wait a minute, we're not Allsite anymore. All of a sudden, everything went in a better way. So some stuff we get lumped up into too, that's a bad review because of Allsite, you know, and that Allsite review ends up on our side. So how do you know what's there and what's not if you guys aren't looking at this stuff and paying attention to it? Again, I started out day one saying, that the hardest thing there is to teach a senior partner or a sales rep is to do his or her homework. That is your homework to keep up with the Better Business Bureau and what's in it, what's on the online reviews, what's in it, what people are actually saying. So we can sit there and cut some of this stuff back, okay? If there's 40 complaints there, then I want to know out of the 40 complaints, how many of them are actually real complaints that you can say has to do really with us and our product and the service that we provide. And you'll be shocked if more than 30, 40, 50% of it, they don't even have our crap in the house. They just don't. But they're complaining. You know? So hopefully, again, that answers that when it comes to the warranty. But that's what I would do, is just lifetime warranty covers this, 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 and this. I don't get into it a whole lot, but I am going to cover it a lot more when I get into parts, pieces, and product and start breaking down everybody else's warranty compared to ours. Okay. Could you use warranty when you're doing pros versus cons? Absolutely, you could. That's actually a pretty good one. You know, aluminum windows don't have a warranty for the most part. Vinyl windows do have a warranty. However, most vinyl windows that use these type of frames, what it's going to say is that it won't cover, you know, chip, fade, peel, pit, or bubble up, or discolor in normal condition. We can point that out there a little bit. However, companies that use a thicker gauge vinyl will cover warping, will cover fading better, and they'll do that. Wood usually has this type of warranty. Fiberglass has this type of warranty. And then, of course, Fibrex has this. Warranty you can use in pros versus cons if you want to. That I would get into for sure if you wanted to. I wouldn't say for sure, but you could do that there as well. But even if you did, I would still bring it back up when you're doing talking about product and we start getting in the actual product and demoing and showing everybody else's warranty. Okay. Does that answer? Are you good with that answer there, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. What other questions do we have? Anything? All right.
Question, Terry.
Yeah, talk to me, Jay.
Yeah, regarding the off-gassing on standard vinyl versus ours, can you talk a little bit about what causes that process and why it's not on our window?
There is no difference. All vinyl, there's off-gassing to all vinyl. It's a plastic. Plastic off-gases. It's just the way it is. It's like gasoline, right? Gasoline, all gasoline for the most part, it's flammable. So off-gassing is just a problem with plastic, period. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, there's just not. Does everybody on this phone call have the 137 things vinyl window companies don't tell you about vinyl? Does everybody have that?
I haven't looked at it, but yeah.
You guys don't, right? Okay, we'll make sure you get it. So you should really look into it. If you guys haven't read it, would strongly suggest that you read it and read through it. It's good read. You'll be able to hear what people are saying, and what magazines and what companies and things like that are saying about vinyl. And off-gassing is one of them. If you actually Google, you can Google it. You know, if you Google it, does vinyl off gas, you're going to get an absolute yes. Again, it's a plastic, and just about all plastics off gas. Jimmy, so
New car smell is literally
You-
off-gas plastic.
say that again.
New car smell is literally low-key toxic. It's off-gas.
Sure.
That's literally what the smell is.
Sure, there's a lot of things that off gas. I mean, you know, in the end, and the off gassing is worse depending on where you're at, right? You know, in high heat areas, it's going to be worse than an area that's not. So, you know, that's the only thing I can tell you. It doesn't come up a whole lot, but every now and then you'll get that tree hugger that'll sit there and tell you, look, I'm not ever going to do it because of off-gassing, you're gonna get that. I mean, that's just gonna pop up once in a while.
But with,
Yes.
with a higher UV protection, it doesn't change the amount or the,
In the end, you know, the question on the table is, with a higher UV protected, does it help? The answer is yes, but it's still off-gases though.
right,
Okay,
but apps,
the
okay.
answer is yes.
With the off-gassing thing, is it worth it to even mention?
No, that's why I don't say it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't, I never bring up off-gassing, just so you know. I don't do it.
First 2 weeks after the
Yeah.
post contract.
The only time I brought up,
There, if anybody does have like a homeowner who is really concerned about that because of medical condition or something, that customer that I have here with that medical condition I was talking about yesterday, she would be happy to hop on the phone and talk with anybody, whether they're in here or a different market, because she's super sensitive to that. She's had the windows in now for 2 years and never had a single issue with it. And she's ended up getting sick from smelling people's perfume before, so.
yeah, I mean, and you know, the story that you shared with me yesterday, Cody, when we talked about that, and what you're saying now is a good story. I would sit there and say that'd be cool. At the same time too, you know, define super sensitive, right? You know, her super sensitive might be different than the super sensitive to the next person that has sensitivity to it. So it's kind of like expensive, you know, define expensive, you know? So again, the only time I ever brought up off-gassing is if I was pitching against vinyl. So my time with Renewal by Anderson, I brought up off-gassing. My time with pitching fiberglass, I brought up off-gassing. However, if I'm sitting there and pitching vinyl, well, I definitely am not bringing up off-gassing. Okay, so, you know, I'm just not a person that brings up off-gassing. I'm just not. I don't bring it up. I only bring it up if I'm pitching against it. Yes, Diana.
So I need to understand, I feel like I thought what Jimmy was asking was about the argon and maybe the dissipation of argon, am I wrong? Okay, so we're talking about the vinyl itself has a odor or something that comes off of it, and that's the off-gassing of it when it's being installed in the home.
That is correct.
After it's foam, there's like an odor, any odor that's being released from something generates.
Okay.
I was just wondering if there's ever any key like differences between different types of vinyls that could ever affect
Okay.
different rates of off-gassing, or if it's all pretty consistent.
No, I mean, there's the grade to it. I mean, the cheesier the vinyl gets, the cheesier the plastic gets, the worse the off-gassing is. I guess in a place like Oregon, this will probably resonate a little bit. You know, the shittier the weed is, the worse it smells. The better the weed is, the worse bad smell it has. Okay, so off-gassing is the same way. The more plastic you have in it, for example, things like your 60-40 splits, those are going to off-gas and smell worse, if you will, than 100% say pure virgin vinyl will be. But at the same time, that depends on who you're talking to. You know, it's a hard thing to get into, though you can talk about it. But in theory, the worse the vinyl gets, the cheaper the vinyl product is, the worse the smell becomes. The better the weed gets, if you will, the better it smells.
So Terry, just to clarify, yesterday when we were making the pros and cons list, you listed off-gassing under the con for vinyl. Today you said you wouldn't bring it up, so should everybody take that off of their list? They're not practicing that?
Yeah, that's my fault. That's creature of habit right there, because I'm used to putting it there because I've pitched against vinyl for so long. So that's just me being a creature of habit there. So my apologies for giving bad intel.
And Terry, one other technical question on that topic of the 60-40 split. So since vinyl is all plastic anyway, when you say like 60% is like, is it just recycled plastic? Like what exactly is that making it cheaper?
So 60, it's good because the 60% is not vinyl, it's actually plastic. The other 40% is your PVC or UPVC or CPVC, whatever bullcrap name you want to give it, you know, chlorinated polyvinyl chloride, regular PVC, but it's more plastic than it is quote unquote vinyl, you know, or resin, if you will. Therefore, it becomes a cheesier product. And you can tend to tell too, because those products will be a lot thinner as well. If you notice when you go to Lowe's, if you can look past the nail fin for a minute, a lot of those vinyl windows are at Lowe's or Home Depot. Those vinyl frames the reveals are thinner.
Mhm.
They're still about 3 to 3.25 inches wide, but the reveals themselves are a lot thinner as well.
Mhm.
You know, well, chances are that's going to certainly be a 60-40 split vinyl window there. And that bad boy's not going to last worth a crap, especially if it's in direct sunlight. It's just not going to, you know. But in their defense, they don't claim to sell the best products in the world. They're selling price. So unfortunately, to sell price, you have to have a cheaper and cheesier product. It's kind of like Levi Strauss brand jeans, right? You can go to Dillard's or Macy's or someplace like that and buy 501s. You can also go to Walmart and they have Levi Strauss. It's right there on the tag for half the cost. But when you go to feel the material, it's also half the material. Well, it should cost half the price then. Okay. It should cost half the price. So that's what a 60-40 split is, Jimmy. It's going to be more plastic than it is vinyl. Almost all of your contractors are going to be using that shit. Almost every builder is going to be using that. I mean, you can go into a house, it's a $3 million home, $4 million home. But if it has vinyl windows on it, chances are it is a contractor grade.
Mhm.
The reason why you see that is contractors are buying windows by bulk. So these shitty windows that they're getting, they're paying 65, 70, 75 bucks a piece for them. But when they're building the house and the house is being sold, they're sitting there charging $500, $600 a hole for this. All right. So the margin in it is absolutely outrageous. That's why they don't buy better windows, because they don't want to buy better windows for $400 and $500 a piece. Trying to make the same margin means they're trying to now sell these windows for $2,500 and $3,000, and they don't have the goods for that because that's not what they do. Okay. So that's why these contractor windows are just so bad. Just because they have low E coating in them doesn't make the window any good. Again, the little white speck on the top of chicken crap is chicken crap too. So that's what it boils down to.
Cool.
Questions? Oh. Okay, so at some point in time, as we discussed yesterday, we have to talk about our glass package. Because we don't have meter kits, okay? I would encourage you as salespeople to buy a meter kit for now. I will find a way, some way, somehow to get you reimbursed for it, though it may be a little at a time that we do it, because I'm gonna have to be a sneaky bastard to do it, to be honest with you.
We're talking heat lamp,
Okay,
right?
yes.
Leadership, okay.
All right. But it is such a good thing to have, though, because it shows so well in the house. It really does, especially if you do good, because it works for the same way in the cold areas also. You know, Cam, Cody, and Jesus Christ, this is that. Sorry, guys, this is Dave Moore. So
Just answer it.
Do you have a meter kit there that you can go through and demonstrate it, so it's recorded into this video, so as people do get them, that they can have this reference?
I'm sorry, brother. I was just reading this and I didn't catch the question.
You're fine. Do you have a meter kit there so that you can go over and do it, so that it's part of this recording and that everybody, when they get them, can go back and reference and study this?
You know what? I don't think Kate and them have one here, bro.
Okay.
Terry,
Yeah.
have Phil do it. Have Phil just do it in the office and record it for us.
Like anyone who has one.
Yeah.
Phil, no, I can't let Phil do it. I mean, have you seen him? He's disgusting looking.
Whatever, stop.
He's
Stop.
extremely ugly. Can you imagine if he got
Because
on,
he's camera shy doesn't mean he can't do it.
you know? I will get you a recording of it, swear. You will have a recording of it. Okay? So if that's the case, let's go ahead and, that's a good call. You know what? Again, see, this is the reason why you guys know better about this shit than I do. We're gonna I'll skip this part of it, but know that after you do the pros versus cons, you get the customer to pick the frame. Now, this is a me personal thing. How you choose to do this is up to you, but this is a me personal thing. When I go up to a house, I carry my bag. I carry this, and that's it.
Me too.
I do not use, I don't take my window sample. I don't take anything, just my bag. My measuring tape stays in my bag until it's time to measure. As a fella, I know a lot of fellas, we like to put the measuring tape on our hip. I do not want that to be out there because I do not want the customer to be encouraged to sit there and say, okay, pull your shit out. Let's get this thing measured right here. So that's what I do. So for me, when the customer on the pros versus cons, once they make their choice, then I go out to my car and I bring in my window sample and I bring in my heat lamp kit, my meter kit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I bring that in. Okay. Once I bring that in, then I go through the glass package itself. Okay. With the meter kit, we're going to sit there and show, and most of you have already seen me do this for you once already. Some of you have not. Of course, Seattle, you guys haven't. So as we go through this and show the different glass packages, the question on the table we're going to ask, which is our closing question, will be, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, if given the choice, and you certainly have one, which one of these do you believe is best for you? They will pick yours every single time. They're going to, every single time. When they do, then the question we want to follow up with is, awesome, let me ask you this then. In your opinion, and your opinion is the only one that matters here, if you had this throughout your house, the Apex glass, how much would you be able to sit there and cut back on your heating and cooling costs in your opinion? And there's not a wrong answer here, folks. You tell me. We need their answer. And we don't get away without giving them an answer. Well, you know, I don't know, man. I don't work for the electric company. No, I know you don't work for the electric company, man. I get it, but you live here, though. So if you had better windows and doors, again, in your opinion only, there's no wrong answer here. What do you think that dollar amount would look like? Whatever dollar amount they give, we're good with. It doesn't matter what it is. Unless they do something stupid and say $1. Well, if they thought they were only going to save $1, you wouldn't be there, just so you know. Chances are you wouldn't be there. So if they give a big number, well, I mean, I could probably cut my electric bill down by $150. I wouldn't take that as an answer then. That's extremely high. Then at that point, I would probably cut it in half right away. $150. Okay, tell you what, instead of being so aggressive, let's cut that in half and say 75. Would you agree 75? Oh yeah, definitely 75. Cool. I'm going to write that number down and I'm going to use it later in part of that stuff we talked about yesterday.
Right.
So I want to know that number. Okay. Once the customer picks our glass, from this point forward, this is Apex glass. That is all we will call it. It's Apex glass. Okay. The impression we want the customer to have is to get something this good, they have to come to us to get it. So it's Apex glass. It's not low E3 or low E4 or low E25 or Big Daddy Cool low E. It is Apex glass. And that's what we want to refer to as, is Apex glass.
Gary, I have a question. So kind of with the old approach, both at the door when they'd be setting the appointment, and then, you know, as we're going through and doing kind of like the augmented reality, whatever, you know, we would kind of say, like, your home efficiency is going to increase, you know, on average 30 to 35%. You don't put that onto their radar at all, right? You're not saying anything like that. You're just showing them that glass demo and then asking them what their thought is on how much they would save.
Yeah, it is, because when you sit there and you say 30 to 35%, and you start doing that regularly, and you ask the question, how much you think you're going to save? They always say, well, like you said, about 30 to 35%. So what happens then is when you try to sit there and say, well, earlier you said, well, you know, I was just agreeing with you because that's what you said is what the number is. I just don't want that to be in the way, is what I don't want. So at the same time too, the other challenge that I have, and I'm actually dealing with one right now in another market, I'm dealing with one right now where the customer is upset because their electric bill did not go down by 30% like we said it would. Okay. So I'm just not a big fan of using that number that way. However, if you want to, knock yourself out. I mean, you can. I'm not telling you not to do it. I just tell you the reason why I don't. You know. You know, what I can tell, what I can, you know, I don't mind sitting there saying is, you know, kind of like what we do with the portfolio, right? The way we're teaching how to do with the portfolio now is, you know, by having insignia on your home, it's going to cause the house to be raise the comfort level, right? Cause your house to be more energy efficient. You know, it'll be approximately 30 to 40% more energy efficient than it currently is now. Okay, that I don't have a problem with, because 30 to 40% more energy efficient doesn't necessarily mean reducing your bill 30 to 40%. So if we use it that way, then I would sit there and say I'm really okay with that now. You know,
Because that's how we've always done it in Portland, but I'm just not sure if there, I still think it's probably more beneficial just to let them answer, you know, and get that.
in my mind, it is, again, bless you, easiest way to sell, right? Make it the customer's idea. Okay, easiest way to sell, make it the customer's idea. And as long as you're getting answers from customers, it'll always be their idea. And when we get down to the close, it is sure a lot easier to say, earlier you said, than it is to sit there and say, well, earlier when we discussed this, or earlier we talked about that. Okay. That's a different story completely right there. So I would agree with you, Cody. That kind of stuff I kind of leave out personally. All right. But that's the big thing about the meter kit that we have to remember. And when I do the video and get the video done for you, I'll reiterate that. But once we go ahead and demonstrate the window, keep in mind the heat lamp is great for showing the heat coming in. But remember, if you do it the right way, you can also show the customer the amount of heat that comes back into the house in the wintertime. You know, it isn't just to let the heat pass through. It's also showing how the heat bounces back and into the house. Does everybody remember that?
As slick as fuck.
Never gonna see it.
Do what?
I know, I didn't get to see it.
Oh yeah, well, that's because you were playing hooky that day. I remember. You were rafting. You were floating down a river.
I did, I planned a 3-day trip like long before we knew you were coming.
I know, and I get where I rank in the overall scheme of things. We'd rather have a good time and float down a river than listen to me come and talk. I get it.
Oh, it was so nice, Terry.
That just passed her by, she's like, yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Well,
love it.
basically what she's just saying, oh, you know, piss on you. This is way more fun. You know, and I would say it too. So,
I'll
but
take you down the river someday, Terry, you'll see what I mean.
it's yeah. Well, the last time somebody wanted to take me down the river, they were trying to sit there and have me do it in concrete Reeboks. So, you know, I don't know about that. But it is slick because everybody always thinks that the meter kit is just to show how heat passes. But if you know how to use that thing right, you can actually show the amount of heat that's coming into the house in the wintertime and the difference between our window and everybody else's. And that is slick as hell. And this is the one thing I will say, okay? Unless I've shown somebody to do it, I've never seen anybody do it that way either, Cody. Even online, when you start looking on YouTube and stuff, you don't see that. I haven't seen anybody do that unless it's somebody that I've already shown. But I've never seen it because that's not the way it's usually used. But it is pretty.
Times, none of them.
Do what?
I watched like a dozen different videos of it. Nobody did that.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty
Hey,
slick.
Terry,
Yes.
I got a video of you that, what you're talking about, I just sent that out.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Did I actually do a good one, or is this one I just blew through it?
It's pretty quick, but it's
Yeah.
good.
This will kind of give you an idea, guys, if you want to look at that. I kind of blew through this one, but this will be close enough, but I'll do a good one for you.
Was that Cody that just sent
Harry,
it?
I still want Phil to do it.
Do what?
I still want Phil to do it.
Yeah, I'll let Phil do it.
Oh.
You know,
Perfect.
I don't have a problem if you want. Look, the great thing about living in this country is you can cut off your nose and spite your face if you choose to do so. And if you want to put an inferior product on your home, well, you most certainly can. That is the choice you have. It isn't the right one, but nonetheless, you have that choice to make.
I thought Phil, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, I haven't seen yours, so I can't really compare. But Phil does a really
Well,
good job with it.
He does do a good job, and he better, because I've been showing his ass how to do this shit for 5 years. So he better. And he does do a good job. He does. Where I might do this at, so we have a home show coming up this weekend. If I can get a customer to allow us to go ahead and when we demonstrate that at the home show, and I could do that with an actual customer, that's where I'll try to sit there and get a recording of, is at the home show this weekend. Okay. That would be cool with an actual live customer. So, but other than that, Cam sent it out. So if the MSPs could get this out to their peeps, that'd be awesome. I don't know how to send this. I don't know how to send it to you guys. I'm sure there's a way. Stop laughing. I don't know how to do this.
Already been shared with Apex West Coast group that I just added June back into that.
Hey, Cody,
Yeah.
Cam just texted that to all of us. Is there a way that you can do the email thing and we get it on email so I can forward it to these pilgrims here?
Send it in an email to you? Sorry.
Yeah, please, if you would. I don't know how to do it from my phone to give it to them. I'm sure there's a way. I just don't know how to do it. Okay, now there's whatever. Whatever.
I can show you.
All right.
It'll take 10 seconds.
He doesn't sleep enough for that.
Okay, somebody just said something about they could drop me.
Onto the internet.
Okay. All right, hold on. They just said something about dropping me from the air or whatever. Here. 030870, that's the code to get in. 030870.
Terry, it won't actually let me email it, the files are too large.
Do what?
It will not let me email it, the files are too large.
Okay. Can't email it because the file's large. Well, what about the drop, the airdroppy or whatever you just called
You
it?
have to be next to them to do
Yeah,
it.
the phone just has to be.
You have to be. And
Right, but is this file too big for airdrop?
Okay.
no, that's how you do it.
Oh.
But unless.
Yeah, he's whatever. He's fucking with my phone now. So I'm sure he'll get it to work.
I just texted it to him. We'll see.
I'm just keeping an eye on him to make sure he's not sitting there and taking pictures. Well, you get the idea.
Looking at pictures.
Yeah, you know, it's a snake. Press up. It's an anaconda. Press up against glass.
It was though. Your screen.
So, he's doing the airdrop thing now. So, any other questions? But again, keep in mind, when we do the heat lamp test, once we get through all the glass, the question on the table is, if given the choice, and you do have one, which glass would you prefer? What glass you believe to be best for you? Once they pick yours, and they will, Then from there, it's okay, so what you're saying is the Apex glass, correct? And then we're gonna refer to our glass as Apex glass the entire time after that. Okay. Once we're done doing the heat lamp test or the meter kit, whatever you wanna call it, the next thing we'll do is then we go into the demonstrating of the window. Okay, so I guess you guys, you figure out how you think is best for you to demonstrate the window, all right? Me, what I've always done is I start on the outside of the window, I flip it around and I start from the top and I work my way down, all right? The only thing I leave out, okay, hold on, let me make sure you didn't put any weird pictures in there.
Just a couple of dick pics.
How many, just 2?
5.
5.
You're lucky.
It's actually one picture, you
That's
just
one
needed to split it
that's
into
perfect.
5
It's a
because the
panorama.
file.
Ah.
That's more to my girlfriend.
Well, and I can see why it's more than I can see why. So anyway, when I'm demonstrating the window, the last thing that I talk about in the window is the major things that, in my opinion, is better than our competitors. So let's talk about that part for a minute first. Number one, the fact that our window slides into a 1.5-inch pocket. That is going to be better than 99% of the windows that are out there. Okay. Almost all window companies have a slope sill. Almost all do.
Mhm.
Do what?
I was typing while you said the first benefit that you were explaining.
The pocket.
Oh, I didn't tell you.
But let's hear it.
No. So one of the benefits is our window, when it slides down and on double hung or slides into the sides on a slider, slides into a 1.5-inch deep pocket. Okay. Almost all windows on a double hung will have slope sills. Almost all of them will. So we reduce dirt and dust much better than that slope sill will. That's a biggie. The next thing that is a biggie is the constant force tension coil. Constant force is a biggie because most companies do not use that. We know for sure that Marvin does not use it. We know Marvin uses a block and tackle. We know Pella uses a block and tackle. We know that Renewal by Anderson uses a block and tackle. Okay. Most window companies use a block and tackle. We don't, however. It's at this point in time when I'm talking about the constant force tension coil, the advantage of that constant force tension coil. So this is very awkward because we don't have tables and shit, but if we were to bring this window here, it is almost as big as I am, dude. You see this shit?
Hey, hold on, Terry, so you don't have the tail, it's not sitting on anything, that's on the ground, you're shrinking, man.
I kid you not, dude. Look, this is how big, what a big ass sample they carry here in Seattle. Look at this crap. Look at this. You see the doors? This is insane here. You know? So, with a constant force, this motherfucker's gonna fall.
Do you want me to be-
I think I'm okay. Can you guys see?
Literally a table.
We've seen people sitting at tables there when it was on the view, just turn your
Terry, use the
iPad, or like turn it and go stand up, put it on the table.
You put the damn thing on the table and I can't fucking reach, dude. You know it. Why is it?
Alright, TJ.
Okay. I just, it's retarded. I'm on my tippy toes trying to get to the top of the window now. Thanks. Never mind. Right?
Stand on the chair.
Ryland just said, Ryland's like 6'6", 6'5". He said if I need help, he'll give me a scooch. So if you look at the top half, so once you pop the seal on a constant force, you just get it right out of here. Once you get it past this, with a constant force, you can literally, bottom of the window here, just 2 fingers, and the window raises because it stays perfectly level at all times with a constant force. A block and tackle will not allow you to do that more often than not. And especially as it gets older. As it get older, a block and tackle, you tend to have to rock a little bit to get up. With a constant force, literally same way, much easier. So it's a lot smoother operation. Again, that 1.5 inch pocket that it goes down into makes for a much better dirt and dust infiltration. Okay. When I'm talking about this, I usually leave these for last because this is a spot where I want to try to make sure that I separate myself from everybody else other than just the triple pane. It cannot be about just the glass. It's got to be about the other things that separates us from most companies. The other thing that separates us from most companies is the fiberglass check rail. Lots of companies use metal reinforced check rails instead of fiberglass. There are a few that uses fiberglass. Provia is one of them. Anlin is another one. Gee, I wonder why that is. Funny you should ask. Because the extrusions and everything are still coming from de Kooning. That's why. However, the 350 series Pella window, the 250 series Pella window, metal reinforced. You know, Bristol windows, Winchester Industries, metal reinforced. You know, so Renewal by Anderson, not reinforced at all. Because that's what separates us. That's what I want to talk about, is that. The other thing that separates us, especially in our double hungs. Now, see, the sliders don't work this way, but the double hungs do. As you guys know, in our double hungs, we have 3 layers of weather stripping as opposed to only 2. The old Mezzo window or the E3 that we were using had 2 weather stripping. We have 3. Okay. That is, again, that's a difference maker. Most companies only have 1 or 2. So those handful of things right there, those few things there is something that I want to talk about. And I want to leave that last. Because the last things I want them to have in their head is what separates me from everybody else. Fiberglass reinforcement, 3 layers of weather stripping, constant force tension coil, 1.5 inch wind dam or air dam here to prevent more dirt and dust and less air infiltration. From there, then that's when we use our free spray. Okay.
I see 1 and 2. Where is our third weather stripping at? I see 1.
Well, the third piece you won't see until you tilt in.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then when you tilt it in, you're going to see it here. There's the second and third at the bottom.
Perfect.
Okay. I would lower the top half for you, but as you saw, my vertical is not near as good as it used to be. When you're an old man, you just can't jump. So the last thing that we're going to leave the customer with before we go to measure is your free spray. So do me a favor. Cam, don't worry about, you don't have to do it unless you want to show Big Game James there. Okay. Because I know you use the free spray quite a bit. I know they're using it here in Seattle quite a bit now. But do me a favor. Let's everybody get your free spray. Let's get a window. God damn it. Let's get a window on the table there. Preferably somebody tall to be able to do it. So, Jimmy, you and I are not too good at this, I think, bro.
Yeah,
You know, it is. I'm in my training class. Yeah. Yes. No, let's give him a taste and see what happens. And then we'll find out how he did. Okay. All right, sell it. But, so let's get the free spray out so everybody can see it. Just slick like a motherfucker.
Do you have some here?
Do you have a temperature gun?
No.
You don't have a temp gun?
I mean, we have them in Colorado, but I don't have them with me.
Do we have a temp gun?
Kate has one. Might be in her bag. She usually carries it with her.
Hold on, let me see if we got a temp gun here. Where's your bag at?
She probably has it in the car.
If we don't have a temp one, somebody put their nipple up against it.
Say your nipple?
Yeah, and it's like if it gets cold. She was cold sick, right? So, you know, things that
Be my guest.
I can't.
Yeah.
Right, right.
No, it's cold.
Yeah.
Turn it up. Well, it's 70 degrees.
I know, that's what I'm saying, I was like, cause you're paying for it either way, but it's.
Yeah, well, I'm like-
I know. You're not?
I mean, Nicole definitely.
I think cool it's like driving here, I was like.
I literally like sat in the house, I was drinking.
Is he want us doing this, like right now?
Yeah.
No.
Just for us here?
Not yet. I don't think, he just said, preferably call, and he told Jimmy he couldn't be involved.
Just literally just,
It's like,
It's
right?
right.
Yeah.
Drink vanilla.
Do you just open and put them in your phone?
No, I just take it. I didn't take it this morning because I forgot to eat breakfast, so I didn't take mine too, but, I.
No campground here, that sucks.
And it's nice, like, today.
Okay, so do we have everything?
Yep.
All right, so basically what we want to do here is we take our freeze spray, have our window. You take your temperature gun, you take the inside glass temperature. So you're on the inside of the house, shoot the glass and get a temperature and show the customer that. Once you take that temperature, you're gonna tilt your window in. What you want to do is you want to take your tech spray. With this tech spray, you want to make sure you have your straw in it. It'll last you longer and it'll work better with the straw. If you take the straw out and you do it, you'll use a lot more and it won't be near as effective. And then you got to be careful so you don't burn your finger. Okay. So you take your tech spray, you get about half an inch or so from the window. Get closer, Cody. You want to be about half an inch away. Stay in one spot and fire it up. Now stop. Take the window temperature. What are you reading?
Negative 12 degrees.
Hit it again. Same spot. Stop.
Negative 23 degrees.
That's about where I would be at. I would get about negative 23, negative 30 degrees.
Negative 30.
Now, flip the window the other way. Write ice. Carve ice in it with your fingernail. Then when you close the window, it should still read ice. And now take the inside temperature.
That's.
67.6 degrees.
What did you start out at?
67.6 degrees.
There you go. So now what we're able to also show in, especially your cold areas like Denver, like Portland, you know, Salt Lake City, I hear they get a little chilly out there from time to time. Now what we're able to go ahead and do is show not only do the windows help with the cold, with the heat, but look how well they do with the cold. And I'm going to tell you something right now. For all these assholes that show their heat lamps and all this, when you show this, no matter where you live, that is the number one thing they're going to freak out on. So, Cam, you've been using the freeze spray longer than anybody. What type of reaction do you get when you're out there?
Oh, very good. Yeah, they're actually pretty shocked. And then they really like it.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky, guys. It's pretty freaky.
Yeah.
But the brand you need to use is Tech Spray.
Where'd you get it?
You have to order it online.
Yeah, don't buy that crap on Amazon. It sucks.
Yeah, that's the Amazon shit sucks. There's one out there. You have to eat like the entire can for it.
Half a bottle.
Okay.
Fucking sucks.
Are you gonna go through, are you gonna go through and just kind of do a quick window demo the way you would do it for homeowners, so we can see that, just talking to the points?
I can certainly do that for sure. So when I'm doing my demo. I don't know, scratch.
I think that table's lower than that way we can all see it.
Yeah, put it down on the ground over there, that way you can actually stand up on the ground instead of on a ladder.
Yeah, I put that in mind.
Yeah.
Hold on, and let's.
An extra one. We gotta get it out of our way. He's on any spending for the end of the year. At the end of the- He's gonna agree to do it again.
This is the window. It is really cool, both inside and out. There it is.
Hey, Mark, will you?
Man, that was quick.
Your screen, because you guys are moving around, will you mute your camera, or just be quiet so we can see Terry, sorry. That came out ruder than I meant.
Unmute it.
See, this is what I didn't want.
Okay, sorry.
See what I mean? Okay, so just to give you guys some upfront stuff, for me, I don't ever sell a double hung window with half a screen, ever. I've never sold one with half a screen. I have no idea what that's like. I'm sure there are reasons for it. I don't think none of the reasons are going to be good enough if you ask me, because it takes away from a large part of what a double hung is supposed to do. And what a double hung is supposed to do is to be able to sit there and create better cross ventilation, cool a hot room down faster. And with half a screen, you don't have the ability to use the entire functionality of the window. So in all the years I've been selling a double hung window, which has been all 37 years, I have never in my life sold a double hung window with half a screen ever. Unless it happened to be a window inside of a kitchen somewhere where they wanted half a screen so they can use the window as a pass through. Other than that, I have no idea what that's like. So when you hear me talk about the screen being a full screen, I understand that most of you guys don't do that. However, I just have never done that. You know, it's funny, after I told Jen Watterson why, Jen told me, she goes, you know, now that I have the windows, I wish I would have had the full screen. So she's actually ordering full screens because, again, it takes away from it. So anyway, so here's the window. The window that we have here, folks, this is our what we call our Insignia 4 window. As we talked about earlier, it is a triple pane product. So if we start from the outside, what you're going to see here on the outside is, obviously, with it being vinyl, as we talked about earlier, you're going to have a little bit of a thicker frame. So you're going to give up a little bit on your glass and what you're usually used to on your standard aluminum windows. Your frames, however, on the outside of the window, as opposed to buried up underneath it like you have on your single hung, it is a full screen. The reason why it's a full screen is because it is a true double hung, so you can crack the top and raise the bottom to create better cross ventilation, which we're going to go ahead and talk about that here in a second when I show you that. The thing about our screen, however, though, is our screen is a Teflon coated fiberglass screen. Coated in Teflon for easier cleaning. At the same time, it comes with a true woven mesh. You sit there and you pop a hole in it, you apply heat to it, the hole will close up. Now, it doesn't sew itself together, but it closes up small enough so the little critters can't get in. At the same time, Teflon coated for easier cleaning. So truth be told, if you wanted to, you don't have to worry about taking the screens off like other companies. You worry about that. Lock and close the window, take yourself a water hose, shoot and rinse the screens off with water. If you had like bird poop or a dead bug on there, if you just sit there and scrub it with a brush, it'll come right off. Once you go ahead and you have the screens clean, you go into the house and tilt them in, and we can dry the water and everything up that way. That's a lot better than trying to sit there and wrestle with these screens and take them out and put them back in. Okay. What most companies will ask you to do is most companies will ask you to tell you that they have half a screen. And the reason why they tell you half a screen on a double hung is because they tell you that you can either go here or go here. The reason why they're doing that is what they're trying to tell you is that the screens are a pain in the ass. And you can't get them out without bending up the screens, beating yourself up or being upset. So in this case here, what I would tell you is you never have to do it anyway. Just rinse them off. They're Teflon coated fiberglass, like a Teflon pan. At the same time too, what you'll notice is that we have a 1.5-inch pocket here. We're gonna go ahead and talk about that. But in other words, for dirt and dust to get in, it's gotta go across 90 degrees, down 90 degrees, across 90 degrees and back up to be able to work its way in, okay? On the inside of the house, however, again, the window is a true double hung, so when we start at the top sash comes down. If you feel up here at the top of the sash here, what you feel is a line of weather stripping in here. What we have here in weather stripping is what we call double nylon pile weather stripping, or in other words, it's carpet. You've got a moisture barrier that's in between, in the middle of the weather stripping, in order to go ahead and stop moisture from transferring from one side to another. Unless, of course, it's a tremendous amount of water, and then it just overflows over that. Working our way down on this, though, what you'll see is we also have vent latches. Now, some companies are going to go ahead and call these security latches and tell you by having these things here that they're going to be able to do everything but stop bullets. Okay, and what I'm going to tell you now is that's not true. What this is here is a vent latch that allows the window to only open but from this far from the bottom or from this far from the top. It's also designed to sit there and make noise. So in theory, when you lock your window at night and then you go ahead and open the vent, put the vent latches as well, hopefully that's enough noise that if somebody's trying to get in, it'll allow you to grab Smith & Wesson and run out there and have a conversation with this person. But to sit there and use this strictly as security, anybody telling you that, folks, it is a bold-faced lie, okay? Your best security is going to be the die-cast steel locks that come with the window. So die-cast steel. They're die-cast steel locks as opposed to aluminum or plastic. Keeping in mind, however, die-cast steel locks do break. So if this lock were to ever break at any point in time, there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can give us a call and we'll come out. Or number two, you can just go ahead and come to the shop. And as long as we have the pieces for you, you can pick them up. It takes a Phillips screw here and here to remove it. Put the new lock on, put the screws back in, and we're back, we're as good as new again, okay? Nothing on my window is not covered under its lifetime warranty. At the same time too, we have a 90-degree interlocking rail as well. 90-degree interlocking rail meaning you have a rail here along with a rail here, so when the window closes, it locks
It's
together.
gonna fall, Mary, careful it doesn't fall, sorry. It's like, it was starting to like shift and.
Yeah, but you know what though? With my cheetah-like reflexes, I'd have got it.
No, it's gonna fall forward and smack you in the head.
It's leaning back, it just slid.
So that's what your 90-degree interlocking rail. So to give you an idea of actually how that works, let me go ahead and show you something, folks. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take a piece of paper here. And if you take this piece of paper, I would usually ask for help. I need somebody help if you don't mind. Because it's this way. You can hold this. We're gonna take this piece of paper, close the window, put it here and lock it. To give you an idea of how tight this is. The paper breaks, okay?
Oh,
Now,
that's great.
with the average window company, what happens is when the 90-degree interlocking rail goes in and you pull the paper out, it'll slip out and it'll curl up. And they'll tell you, look how tight it is because it curled up. Ours actually prevents you from being able to do that, okay? So that goes to show you how good that 90-degree interlocking rail really is. The reason why our 90-degree interlocking rail is better is because it's a much thicker and taller 90-degree rail. Most 90-degree interlocking rails are half of this. So when you put your piece of paper in, like I said, and you pull it, it curls up. At the same time, we also have weather stripping inside of our 90-degree interlocking rail here. We have 3 layers of weather stripping that not only goes around all the way around here on the other side, but on the sides as well. So you have 3 layers of it. Again, better insulation, better cut back on dirt, dust, and draft. All right. So go ahead and go to close that. Any questions about my windows so far? At all? Awesome. The other thing to talk about here with this window, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, that's very important is going to be this. The working mechanisms that we use to open and close our windows is what we call a constant force tension coil. Now, earlier when we were talking about working mechanisms for an up and down window, we talked about which one is better than all of them. That's going to be your constant force tension coil. What makes the constant force so good is once the window's in its closed position, if you just crack the seal just enough to create space, you can literally put one finger here or two fingers here, and the window will raise completely, or one or two fingers, and the window closes very easily as well. So a blocking tackle causes the constant force causes the problem to be easier to operate, especially in this case. You know, this is a triple pane product. One of the drawbacks of triple pane is it's how heavy it is. This makes it seem to be much, much lighter than it really is. And let's face it, none of us are getting any younger either, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. So that being said, as we get up in years and things seem to be tougher to do, opening and closing the window won't be one of them. With a block and tackle, though, for those people that are a little more seasoned, block and tackle tends to be a challenge at times when you want to open and close, okay? At the same time, too, we're not using a self-lubricating spiral spring, which again is another product that racks and you have a hard time opening and closing. All right. I talked to you earlier and mentioned to you about the 1.5 inch pocket. So this is actually what it looks like. If you look down here, and if you'll take your measuring tape, you can actually measure and you'll see that it is in fact 1.5 inches. So when the window goes down, it goes down 1.5 inches into this pocket, making it much harder for the air to hit here, come down 90 degrees, across 90 degrees, and come back up and into the house. Each time the air hits a barrier, it slows it down drastically. Okay, so we're able to go ahead and cut back on dirt and dust a lot better and air infiltration a lot better than most windows that all have the slope sill on the back end of it. Okay. Any questions for me so far? All right. At the same time, too, I want to go back and talk to you a little bit more about the die-cast steel locks. One of the challenges with a vinyl window, which we talked about earlier, is a lot of vinyl windows are hollow inside, same way as Fibrex is. Fibrex is a non-reinforced product. So what happens here is, as the glass and everything sits in here, if there was a way we could see through this, your glass actually is going to be about this far from the top of the window to about here is where it comes in. If you were to take a ice pick, I have an ice pick. Here is a piece of vinyl. Check this out. I light it up. I want to heat it up real good. Push it through the vinyl. See how easy it goes through the vinyl? Pretty easy. Okay, well, check this out. If you take an ice pick that's hot enough, what you want to do is you want to explain, guys, and I won't go through all of it. We want to go through the explanation that I put up on the board the other day. That's what we want to do. So what happens is when somebody heats up the end of it, that space that's here, they can fish through that. And with the lock closed like this, because it curls back this way, what happens is when it comes across, it catches here. When you go to turn it, then the lock will unlock, making it very easy for somebody to break into. In our case, we use a fiberglass reinforced check rail because fiberglass is temperature ignorant. At the same time, too, it'll prevent that from happening that way. With some of your other window companies, for example, such as Pella, their 250 and their 350 series window, again, great products. However, one of the drawbacks to it is it's metal reinforced at the check rail. The challenge with the metal reinforced check rail is it heats up, so it softens up the vinyl from the inside out, along with the weather from the outside going in. In our case, we're able to prevent that, causing your locks to be more secure than they actually are right now. So to take die-cast steel locks along with your vent latches not only creates good safety to keep anybody from falling out a second-story window, but more importantly, making it harder for somebody to break into the house. I'm not near as worried as somebody falling out of my window as I am somebody coming in the window. You don't read very often somebody falling out, but we read constantly somebody getting in. So by having these three things there, we're able to make a more secure product that way to go along with the triple pane glass that we have. That being said, all of my windows are all custom built, handmade, and computer fitted. And because of that, it does take us a minute to go ahead and make. However, once it gets product in most cases, our installation is 1 to 3 days, depending on how many units that you have. Do you have any questions for me at all about my window? Great. Then let me ask you this. There's my window. Do you like it? Do you love it? And you tell me. I'm sorry?
Love it.
You do. However, do you love it enough that this is the window you want to put on your home over all others?
That's great.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Yes, okay. There's your closing commitment right there. You sit there and you tell them, this is my product. Do you like it? Do you love it? Whatever the answer they give you, yeah, I like the window. It's good. Good. Is it good enough, though, that this is the window you want to put on your home over all others? Yeah, that's a great window. Great. But is it great enough that this is the window you want to put on your home over all others? That's the question we have to ask. That eliminates competitive.
What if they say no, Terry? What if you were to ask me that, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know, it's nice, but you know, there's a lot of nice windows out there.
Well, and there is, but that the question on the table is not, is there a lot of nice windows? The question on the table is this nice enough that this is the window you want to put on your home over all others? That's the question, Mr. Blaylock.
I mean, I guess I'd be happy with that window, but I'm really looking for something with a thinner frame too. So, you know, if they don't have all the features and it's good a warranty, I guess I'd probably end up going with you guys. But I kind of want to see, you know, I like that thinner frame. I really want that glass space.
Okay, so that's awesome. So earlier when we were talking about one of the things that you were saying, the reason why you didn't want to go with aluminum is because of the fact it's not energy efficient and things like that. You also didn't want to go with fiberglass because the amount of maintenance that was involved and its cost. Unfortunately, for a thinner frame, the only way to do that is either to get an inferior product or something that's going to be outrageously pricey. That being said, you're saying this now. So the question on the table would be, what has changed, or do we just need a minute to think about what we just said?
I don't know, maybe it's all those fingerprints that are on the window.
That could be it. I was gonna say that too.
Fingerprints.
Ruined.
It happens that way. Well, this is what happens when you get children around glass. We tend to put our little tiny man hands on things. Okay. So if you think about this, now these things that are starting to come up now you know why we do the things that we do earlier. So when this kind of crap comes up, we can address it. Say, if he is sitting there saying, I really want a thinner frame, I'm going to refer back to the pros versus cons. Because in the pros versus cons, we explained to him that there are only 2 windows that have thin frames. 1 is aluminum, 2 is fiberglass. That's it.
Let me throw one more curveball at you, Terry, because I'm curious how you'll respond to this. And if you ask me what's changed, I'd be like, well, honestly, Terry, I hadn't seen the vinyl window before, like hadn't really paid that much attention when you were asking me before. I didn't realize how thick the vinyl was. I do think I'd be willing to pay the extra money for the fiberglass if it does come in thinner, and I can just hire somebody to come out and maintain them. You know, for me, the aesthetics means more than the cost. I've got the money to do it, so.
Okay. Well, that being said, if you're going to answer it that way, here's what I would sit there and say to you then. Okay, so you do want a thinner window. I get that. Let's find out what the difference is in the cost. So let me ask you a question here. At the very least, from as you've done so far, can you continue to sit there and keep an open mind to a hell of a proposition when we get down to the pricing of this? Can you at least do that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What Cody just said right now is going to come up probably 1 out of every 45 or 50 demonstrations. It's like hardly ever going to come up because most people are not going to be that dead adamant about a thinner frame. And if it is, it's usually somebody that's got an aluminum frame now. But again, if we did our job and asked the right question, we should be able to talk our way through that here. Now, when we give them a price though, and we show that our price is this, but this is what the cost of fiberglass comes in, which is almost 50% more. Now we'll ask the question, look, I know it's not what you wanted. I get it. You prefer something thinner. Sometimes they'll do the imperfections of the world. Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do to get things that we need. In this case here, talking about almost a 50% difference in cost. So the question I would have for you is it worth 50% more to get that thinner frame? You tell me. If the answer is yes, then shake this man's hand and get the hell out of Dodge. Not our kind of customer. We're not gonna win all of them, okay? Not every customer is our customer. Not every customer is our product or our company for that particular customer. Sometimes the defense wins, okay? Offensive coaches in football and all sports, they draw up plays that's designed to get a touchdown or a first down on every single play. We all know that that doesn't happen. And the reason why? Because the defense wins sometimes. That's why. Because defense wins sometimes. So if a customer's going to go that hard that way, then in this time here, keep an open mind. He says, yeah, I'm still going to pay the extra money for it. Not our customer. Let's get the hell out of there. It's just, we don't have the product for them. Remember, one of the 4 key ingredients that we need to have when we're setting up an appointment is a product that we sell that we could put in their home someday. Apparently, our product is not a product they can put in their home someday because it's going to be a much thicker frame and they want something thinner and he's going to kneel on that. Get out of Dodge. It's okay here. I wouldn't feel bad not selling this one in any way, shape, or form if Cody was going to lean on that and stay there.
Now, does that have to be a definite yes, or if they're like, so far, yes? It's kind of like, so far, this is the one. So it kind of gives them like a leeway later to be like, well, now. You know.
Okay, we'll cover that. I'm going to table that one because that's more in closing scenarios. And this is where we have to use price savings and things like that to be able to get around that. Okay, so let's table that question for in 2 more weeks when we get into step 8. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Of course, we want to make sure that the last thing that we do is we do the freeze spray and all that. But the freeze spray is very, 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 very powerful, folks. Very powerful. Kate and them have been using it down here for a bit now. She absolutely loves it. Cam was the first one in the Western region to start doing it. And his first 2 or 3 that he used it, that he sold. Well, you guys, most of us MSPs for sure, we saw the text messages he was sending. It's pretty powerful in the house. Yes.
It's kind of a Denver question, but we don't have the Janus yet. So we're still doing the E2. Is it going to be the same? Okay, just making sure.
The freeze spray?
Yeah.
It'll
Okay.
work.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll work.
Yeah.
So.
I hope we move to it soon, but they haven't moved yet.
Yeah, the Janus or the E2 and the E3, the freeze spray will work.
Okay.
Okay. Again, when using the freeze spray, the thing that we want to make sure that we do is straw, again, straw in. When you're hitting it, be about an inch, about 1/2 inch to an inch away from the window. If you do that, your freeze spray will last much longer and it'll get colder faster. Okay. Typically, the number I want to be around is anything above 23 degrees below 0. Once you sit there and you go 23 about 23, 30 degrees below 0 or so, I usually take my finger and I carve ice into it. And then when I close it, it'll still read ice on the other side. So that looks kind of cool. Then put the temperature gun back on it and then watch everybody weird out. Okay. Everybody always weirds out. Some people will tell you, well, look, can we do that with my window? I have a double pane window. I would sit there and tell them, look, I can, but here's where the challenge is. Okay. If I freeze your glass down that fast, there's a pretty good chance that your glass is going to crack. So we have to have an agreement here that if I crack and break your glass, you're going to be cool with having a hole there that we're not going to take care of. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to do that. Well, you don't have to, folks. It's winter time now, and I can put my hand up here and I can feel the damn thing's cold. So we know if we get it down to -23, it's going to be even colder. So that's how you get out of freezing somebody else's glass.
And that's what we're trying to avoid that.
Yeah, you want to try to avoid it. I mean, look, if you freeze somebody else's glass at 23 degrees or 30 degrees below 0, you take the inside glass temperature, you're going to watch that temperature drop a little at a time as time goes by. It'll drop a little. it'll certainly be not drop near as much as, or it won't drop, ours won't drop at all, next to nothing. Theirs will a little. However, most of this glass is single strength plate glass. There's a good chance it can and will crack. There is. So let's just stay away from that so we don't cause a problem with that.
And then devil's advocate, if the customer's like, yeah, that's cool, go ahead.
Yeah, sit there and tell them straight out, hey, look, folks, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll do it if you want, but keep this in mind. I freeze this down, your glass cracks and it breaks. You're gonna have to sit there and be happy with the fact that you have a hole in there that we're not gonna take care of. So are you guys okay with that?
No, yeah, that's cool.
Nobody says yes.
Well, I'm saying, okay,
Ask if anybody ever said yes.
yeah.
Break away.
I have never had anybody say yes. Yeah. I have never had anybody say yes. Ever.
Right now, it's like, where's like.
It's just how you deliver it. Okay.
Yeah.
3.5 to 5.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Pete, let's go ahead and do this. Let us take a 10-minute break. It's 9:26 my time, 9:27. So let's come back in 10 minutes. Is 10 minutes good? Does anybody need a little longer than 10? Or are we good at 10?
I need 11.
Shonda needs 11 minutes. So we'll come back in 11 minutes. Oh my God. I didn't need to know that, for Christ's sake. Why would you say that? For those of you who didn't hear that, I just heard you sharing. Apparently it takes her 11 minutes to get that little log cabins.
I like to wash my hands thoroughly.
Right.
Roll
All
Tide.
right, see you guys in a few. Roll Tide, baby.
There's one back there.
I want to, I can't do leg work.
But
Hey, look, I'm not gonna lie.
The next size up is like a fighting blanket. The next size up is like.
I can sit next to Jimmy.
Do not get pregnant. Really?
Really sick.
I got like, I get struck like once you're like 10 years. And I was like, there's no question.
Holy shit. Yeah, she was, well, this is what stuff, 12 pounds worth of meat in a 10-pound bag. Funny as shit.
she like kind of like,
Played it off.
she was there for the joke.
She played it off real good.
She said one time during an interview, they said, why would you want to have breasts so big? Because she's very dainty. She's only like
Yeah, she's
105
tiny,
pounds.
yeah.
Yeah, she's little.
Small. And she said, well, why would I want to look like all those other women when I could look like this? I mean, she's like, I
She's
wanted to
little
look
bit.
not normal.
She-
That was her whole goal.
She's had her implants taken out though.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yeah. You know what I didn't know? I didn't know she was kinfolk to Miley Cyrus either.
Yes.
I did not know
That's
that.
just
Yeah,
me
yeah.
right now.
I didn't know that. I was reading something that they didn't have a picture of her. It's her godmother or
Oh,
something like that, or.
It's to her dad.
really great, but
You know,
I got that triangle right.
Being an historically registered home means that you are allowed subsidies to help pay for projects if you use like materials when a home is being built to keep it. But that, I think it's like a 20% subsidy, 25%, so they're still gonna be better in the long run by working with a company that gives them something with a good warranty, better value and stuff, because if they're gonna go and get like a color architects who's winning $3,000 pop, 20% off, or whatever it is, even if it's 25% off, you know, it's still gonna be $22.50 per window, you know, so it's still gonna be more expensive than our, even a G150 for us, you know,
Yeah.
we're giving them a lifetime warranty, they can get wood grain interiors, the exterior, all those windows aren't wood anyway, on the outside, they're all flat, you know, there's no windows, there's no exterior wood finish. And
Yeah.
everything we're getting, so, So yeah, they can definitely do it, but some people who buy those homes, buy these, homes, they're like, wow, I love the fact that it's the original stuff, I would want to do it, I would have to. So, thank you.
Yes, I was just wondering how much if you.
We sold like a couple jobs that were like historically registered homes.
Have you talked to Anthony in a while?
Yeah, just talking to him maybe like
Yeah. Is he still where's he at?
he's in Mexico with
Slade?
I don't think they're in Seattle.
Yeah.
Unless he got, because I'll talk to him, but I don't always go. He's kind of like, hey, we don't know what's going on.
And can we do any kind of insect like glass or anything like that?
I don't know.
Does it look like this, let's see, glass, like, maybe stickers.
Well,
Well, right.
I mean, I don't know if you guys ever did that. But that's probably the fact.
I think it's very sure.
I don't know if you did that.
I think just the three on the short of the real estate.
Maybe it's that on the road.
Right.
That's what they did on, like that, the engine job, that big one.
Yeah.
We kept some windows on the side in the dining room that were like really cool, like leather, stained glass panels and stuff. Specifically for, she was like, so I was like, oh, sure, there we go.
That's
Yeah,
terrible.
efficiency, but I was like, you guys all the way through the has to be these three that are this big, just make sure it's just sealed up, so you don't get issues with your ratio, maintain them, and be accidents, and then I think it's cool for that, you know? so-
Right, well, I'm like, that's like the Jones job, they have this beautiful colonial, but like.
That's cool.
It's small. And it overlooks the green space, it's very freaking. Through the floor, original hardwoods, they asked me, they're like, what do you think we should do with this window? And I said, this is gonna be really great. Cause I'm gonna have to break it up.
Yeah.
Cause I was field now. And it's beautiful, but first thing you open up this home.
Yeah, statement piece.
Yeah.
Can't even blanket. Yeah. I mean, it's a different kind of cold here. It's not so temperature cold in Colorado at this degree. I'd be in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's just because of the moisture, it like gets into your soul. What is that? God, how are you guys not all depressed out there?
Oh, a lot of people are. Yeah, people leave. Like I've had peers move here and they leave after one winter. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, never mind, bye."
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to hate myself.
But people that like come visit like July, August, this place is the best place in the world.
Yeah, you have to pros and cons, right? I'm trying to leave Colorado. I hate being cold. And but I have a lot of friends and family who live not in the exact Phoenix, but in Scottsdale, Prescott, and Flagstaff.
Yeah.
So relatively close. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to go to the Phoenix market
Yeah.
to help out. And he's like, great, you can pay for one day and we're going to Seattle.
Yeah, it's like the opposite. It's like Arizona, awesome this time of year, but then the summer it's just like, oh God, like
Right.
God. But I hear
Right.
Scottsdale is at least a little bit better.
Prescott is, well, Scottsdale and Phoenix are really, really close, like 15 minutes. But Prescott is like an hour and a half northwest. And then Flag is pretty much has the same weather patterns as us, Salt Lake City and Denver. We're all pretty close to that same. So they have like, the day we left, they had 6 inches of snow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very forest, very mountain, so they get a lot of colder. I wouldn't want that. So I was like, how about the dead summer? I go up and work there. With girlfriends and then come back to Phoenix for the rest. He's like, I don't know, called the Utah or something. He's like, I don't know if that would work. That's one thing that's very different about corporate stores and franchises. I need to do that.
Yeah.
Work when I want, work how I want, a lot more than that, but I don't make the same amount of money, so people have requirements and, you know, things like that, and quotas in a franchise. So, but there's, you know, there's pros and cons to that
Yeah.
too, and
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I just watching Kate and Mia since I've been here, they work their asses off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's good,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I was still like 110,000 body weight this year. Yeah, it's like they're killing it out there.
Everybody coming in at one today? As far as I know. Did, what about the new? You said you had a new guy or something? I give him.
Oh, one day.
Great, you know, not chasing you down.
Yeah,
Who has appointments today?
I have a
Yeah.
1 o'clock door appointment. Okay, cool. Are you excited?
yes. I mean, we'll see. She's debating between either getting refinished or,
Oh, no.
but I did tell her
Yeah.
definitely refinishing is gonna be cheaper.
Yep. But then it's the major problem, which
Yeah.
is expansion and contraction and shaping inside of that door.
Yeah, so she knows
Yeah.
that. So like,
Yeah, they got, that's what.
It's exciting.
yeah.
Love it. Yeah, it was good for us this year. I think I did 39 doors this year.
Okay, let's do it. Sports fans, let's do it.
All right, guys, we're back.
I have an install happening today. Yes, Sunday,
That's what, well, yeah, I'm like going flush drains before us, but. I'm like a
But
great.
yeah, they're. Ready for
You, where are we moving?
Yes. Well, it has the better use, viewing colors, it's a full flex screen. Which, we did the sample on the Provia and your one in there, which we were saying we didn't like, but that was from a demonstration. So we were saying screen out. It's not that big a deal. Yeah, exactly.
They were decent enough to where it worked for what we need right now, so we could get some money.
MO is just different.
John, that door appointment was days ago, so it shouldn't need.
Hey,
I kind of like that too, starting on the outside.
Hey, Mark.
It's like fingers ending on the front, yeah.
And then freeze break all that.
So here's the problem. This is what ends up happening when you have the half screens, is like some of these, the screens on the top and some are on the bottom. Like it does look crappy whenever you have that. Oh, it's kind of weird. So I agree. I like the full screens better, Terry.
yeah, I like the full screens. I'll hold on real quick, Cody, let me address that in a quick second. Mark, I agree with you because of with Matt Duncan leaving and some of the challenges it's caused. Go ahead and jump on that. Let's make sure we take good notes. Let Brittany or whoever else that's on there know that I'm in that training class and I asked you to step out to be on that. Okay. And then whatever challenges that we're having, we'll go ahead and talk about that later. But I agree. I know there's been some problems with Michael Duncan leaving. Okay.
Well, it's just been shows apart. So and Brittany's out sick for the day now at this point. So if somebody's not representing Apex on that call, then there's no point in having it.
Yeah, let's make sure that we're on that call then, brother. All right, take care of that.
Okay.
All right, thanks, buddy. So going back to Cody to what you say, I agree. I don't like the shovel look that it puts out. The other thing, and this is where some of you are going to disagree with this, and I get it. If you disagree, it's okay. It really is. So as you know, we have a couple different types of screens, right? We have that true view or clear view or whatever view bullshit you want to call it. The great thing about that, of course, is it makes the screen harder to see. Okay. I, for one, though, I actually pitched the standard fiberglass screen, the one with the thicker mesh. So the conversation you heard me use about a true woven screen, plastic remembrance, memory screen, whatever you want to call it, that will not apply to the True View, but it will to your standard Teflon coated fiberglass screen. There are a lot of reasons for using that screen. Number one, I like the screen better because it offers for more privacy I'll address you in a quick second, Mark. I'll get that in a second, okay?
Okay.
I like the thicker mesh because the thicker mesh makes for a better, more privacy in the daytime, especially for the customer. At the same time too, that Teflon coated fiberglass screen, that thicker screen, has what we call plastic remembrance, or if you will, memory screen. So that goes to the fact that you can pop a hole in it. While the pen is in it, you can pull on it and it will not run like regular screens will. If you apply heat to it by either rubbing it or letting the heat from the sun hit it, the hole will close up. Now, it doesn't sew itself back together, but it does close up small enough to keep the critters out. The other advantage to Teflon coated fiberglass screens that way is you can buy that shit almost anywhere. So if a customer has a screen, you can run down to Lowe's or Home Depot and you can buy 100 feet of that stuff and keep it at the shop. So you don't have to order it through the factory. And all you have to do is just restring it right there on the job site. And unless the spline has gone bad, you can use the spline that's on there already. So Teflon coated fiberglass screen, I would prefer to go ahead and use. It's better for service. It's better for all the stuff I was telling you about. However, there are some people that like that. I don't really like the look of screen. I get it. So there is a time and a place to go ahead and use that. I typically don't bring it up at all until the customer does it. However, if the True View or whatever view we want to call it, if it's an upcharge for it, I would charge for it, even though I'm using the other screen. This way, if the customer does bring it up and say, well, look, do you have that screen that's hard to see? I can say, sure, if that's what you want, I can just keep it, since it's priced in it already, I can keep that there without having to sit there and recalculate price, okay? Again, I'm not saying to not use it. There is a place for it, and there are some people that want that. But I only do it only if somebody asks for it. But the other way around, how many times have we had a problem with an install or we're waiting for this screen to come in because you have to get that from wherever it's coming from, as opposed to standard Teflon coated fiberglass, you can get anywhere and that can get swapped out right away. So like the last place I was at, we had 100-foot rolls. So all we had to do is roll it out, cut it out, respline it, and send everybody back out and get the screens put up right away. We get the job collected on right away as well. So it makes for better service and it makes for easier collections on the back end if that's all we're waiting for. Okay. So again, not saying not to use it. I'm just telling you what I do and why I do it. Okay. You had your hand up, Mark. What was your question?
So what's coming out of the factory? Is that Better View screen or is that something else?
Well, I think what's coming out of the factory is what we're ordering. If I'm not mistaken, don't we have to check the box of the Better View? Okay.
Better View is standard on a white or beige window, and then if it's color window, the flex screen is standard unless you opt otherwise.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, we also have a standard fiberglass, right?
I don't know. I mean, GDI, I'm sure that they do. I'm sure Champion probably has that on size as an option, and I can look at Paradigm to see if it's on there, but that's not something that's ever been an option for Apex before. It was the Better View and half or full only, and then I know they're adding in the flex screens.
Yeah, I'll talk to Brett. I'm supposed to be getting together with Brett on Monday when I get back to Phoenix. So I'll talk to Brett on Monday about it as well. So, but that's why
What's the difference?
You heard.
What's the difference in the flex screen versus the Better View screen?
Everything. Go watch Shark Tank.
Go on Shark Tank.
Here's what I would tell you about the flex screen. It's an absolute pain in the ass to deal with. It's a pain in the ass. It is an absolute pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. Provia uses a flex screen. I ordered it on 1 or 2 jobs because I thought it sounded cool. What a pain in the ass, and I stopped using it. So I'm not a fan of flex screen.
Hold on a second.
Pain in the ass to get in to get out.
Terry, he's gonna do an example of pain in the ass.
Pain in the ass. There's no frame to it. So
This is the flex screen, literally. So
Yes.
and okay, if you are, guys are, like, if you release this, it will shoot like 10, 12 feet. So do not squeeze it. Don't do like this very much in the house because it is kind of dangerous. The problem is, and I was going to ask Terry, so if you are ever demoing some of this, like you don't take the screen out, because I've only pulled this screen out, and here's the biggest issue. I pulled the screen out 3 times total, and it's already separating here.
Right, that's what I
Because
mean.
you have to actually sandwich it. And then the other thing that's hard is for the homeowners. Like you have to have a hand on the inside and the outside to get it out.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass to get out because of how you gotta grab it. It makes it very hard to grab. You literally would be best if you were on the outside or the inside and you have somebody push on one side so you can actually grab it to collapse it in. The problem is though, is after 3 or 4 times, give or take, 1 or 2 either way, the freaking, the screen, it starts to pull apart from the plastic lining that's there that allows it to collapse. It's just a pain in the ass. It really is.
The other thing I don't like about it is that's because there is no middle support rail like there is on the full screens, like with the other options. You end up seeing this weather stripping that's just hanging out here from the outside. So,
right.
Cody, are you that tall or is that an itty bitty window?
It's a
this
small.
this window is 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide.
That's a 3x5.
The other challenge with the screen is Teflon. It is fiberglass, so it does expand and contract. So what happens is when the screen starts to contract, it'll tend to want to bow, and if it doesn't bow because the window isn't big enough, it also pulls away from the frame, if you want to call it that. So when it becomes an option, guys, I would strongly suggest you don't use it.
Oh,
Strongly suggest.
what are the benefits supposed to be then? Why are we going to use it?
In theory, the benefit from it is you don't see frames, so you see it's just screen and you don't get to see the frame. And in theory, it's supposed to be easier to take out in theory, but it's not. It's not.
I'm not sure when our warehouse is full of flex screens. Every window that's coming in with the colored exterior has flex screens on it. I mean, there's 300 of them sitting there waiting on the warehouse.
Yeah, see, and if that's the case, we should be able to go ahead and order. Flex screen comes standard in the colored window, so all we have to do is just request something different. But flex screen sucks. I hate it. It sucks. I thought it was cool, and I jumped on that flex screen train until the first 2 jobs come in, and I quickly got off that horse in a hurry because it's a pain in the ass. Okay, pain in the ass. Pain in the ass. And it's a service problem at the same time too. So I just don't, better part of valor in my opinion is just stay away from it. The thought is good. The thought's good, but not the best choice. So any questions about anything so far? Okay, about anything? All right.
Is the flex frame
Do what?
Yeah, is the flex frame a pain in the ass?
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Terry. Kind of like you, Cam. Not too much.
Hold on.
So is there 3 kinds of screens, the Teflon coated, the True View and flex screen? I'm just making sure.
Yeah, as of now, yes. Okay. So, what I want to do is I want to skip step 6. We're going to cover step 6 next week. What I want to get into right now is step number 7. Step number 7 is very easy. You can either write this out or record it on your phone or get the recording from Cody and fast forward to this. But step number 7 is our pre-close. Okay.
You're just going to be sitting right there whilst doing this.
Good.
I can't see you behind the cup.
Wow.
I'm serious. It goes all the way up to your neck when I
Okay. So check this out. She's got her phone.
The cup looks when it's right behind him.
She
It goes
says-
all the way up to his neck.
She says, I can't see you because, hold on, let me see if I can help, Weisenheimer.
Perfect,
How's that?
perfect, I got you now.
So, wow. You know what? What I need you to do is I need you to transfer from Denver to here so I can then suspend you.
Yes, perfect.
But I can't do that unless you come work over here. So call your owner up and tell him that you're transferring so I can suspend you.
That's why I could be smart ass.
Okay. So step number 7 is the pre-close. So here's how the pre-close works and here's how it goes. You've already remeasured. You've done all the things you've got to do. It's time to sit down and we're getting ready to give the price. So Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we have talked about a lot of things today. Okay. Obviously, replacing your windows is something you're going to do someday because that's what you told me earlier. That being said, I imagine the only thing keeping us apart is going to be the price. So if I could do 3 things for you today while I was here. Number 1, if I can show you a price that you believe to be a fair and an honest price. Fair and honest meaning for the type of product you're going to receive, the type of installation you're going to receive, and the warranty and the service that goes along with it. At the same time, too, if I can put a payment in your budget that doesn't take bread and butter off the table, you know, like we talked about earlier, something that's not going to put you in the window poorhouse. And third, if I can show you if I can save you a bunch of money by doing something sooner rather than later, would there be any reason other than price or payment why we can't get together on this partnership today while I'm here? That is your pre-close. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we've talked about a lot of things today. Obviously, replacing your windows is something you're going to do someday. So if I can do 3 things for you today while I was here, if I can go ahead and show you a price that you believe to be a fair and an honest price, you know, fair and honest for the type of product you're going to get, the type of warrant or the installation you're going to get, and the warranty and the service that comes along with it. At the same time, too, if I can go ahead and put a payment in your budget that doesn't take bread and butter off the table. And at the same time, if I can save you a bunch of money, or if I can show you a tremendous savings, if you want to say it that way, by doing something sooner rather than later, would there be any reason other than price or payment why we can't get together on this order today while I was here, or why we can't get together on this partnership today while I was here? And then we'll give the answers from here. So what is the purpose of the pre-close? The purpose of the pre-close is to get permission to do business today. Number 1. At the same time, too, it's also designed to set up price or payment. And number 3, the next thing is to try to get as many objections out to not buy now, as opposed to waiting to present price and then get those objections then. The problem is when you get a bunch of objections when you present price, your customers are not concentrating on price and payment. They're too busy concentrating on ways to get out of this shit. Mm-hmm. So by getting rid of as many of them as you can before you get down into that, again, makes closing and negotiating a lot easier now. At the same time, too, we still hold the beans. The customer now knows they're this close to get that price. So we still hold the beans. They're going to cooperate a little more because we still hold the beans. The moment you sit there and you give them that price, all advantage customer now, they have what they want. It's a lot easier for them to sit there and rush you out the door. Sure. Well, the purpose is to get permission to do business today, and to filter out as many challenges before we present price. Okay. So pre-close. Again, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we've talked about a lot of things today, you and I. Obviously, replacing windows is something you're going to do someday because that's what you said earlier. So I'd imagine the only thing keeping us apart is going to be the price or the money. If you want to say it that way, you can say it that way too. I'd imagine the only thing keeping us apart is going to be the money or the price. So if I can do three things for you today while I was here. Number one, if I can go ahead and show you a price that you believe to be a fair and an honest price, fair and honest, for the type of product you're going to receive, the type of installation you're going to receive, and the warranty and the service that goes along with that. At the same time, too, if I can put a payment in your budget that doesn't take bread and butter off the table, you know, something that's not going to put us in the window poorhouse, what you said earlier. And at the same time, if I can show you a tremendous savings by doing something sooner rather than later, would there be any reason other than price or payment why we can't get together in this partnership today while I was here? And then we'll address whatever we need to address at that time. There's your pre-close. Now, one of the advantages of a pre-close is for some of these people, and we've all heard this at some point in time when we're trying to get a job today, where a customer says, okay, you know what? I'm starting to feel like I'm getting pressured. I don't like to be pressured. I don't like to be pressured. Okay. Now what we can do is we can tell that customer, hey, look, okay, my apologies that you feel that way. My apologies. However, keep in mind, pressure is perceived. And the reason why you're perceiving things the way you are is because of how I'm delivering it. So obviously I need to work on that so you don't feel that way. But at the same time, too, all I'm trying to do is what we agreed upon earlier, which was show you a fair and honest price, fit a payment in your budget, and save you a boatload of dough by doing something sooner rather than later. So I'll work on that delivery. So let's get back into it now. Okay. That'll allow you to get back into it for that person that's saying, I don't like being pressured. Again, pressure is perceived, people. It's perceived. True blue pressure, this is true blue pressure. You know, Terry, if you don't grow 1 foot in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to punch you in the face with a hammer. Okay, that's pressure. That's pressure. You know, if you don't sit there and make this free throw, I'm going to set your house on fire. That's pressure. This is not pressure. This is just perceived. And if a customer is feeling that, then that's telling me that our delivery probably needs to work on a little bit better. So we just might need to tone that back just a tad bit. But we're still going to do our job, though. We are one call closers. That is our job. Our job is to go in and close it the day we are there. That is our job. Go backs or be backs or whatever, that's weak. And that's not what we're paid to do. The problem with doing go backs, and everybody's going to say, well, you know, I went back on one and I sold this deal for $57,000. Okay, well, good for you. That's precious. Good for you. The challenge with that, though, is at the same time, you took yourself off the schedule to go ahead and go write that deal up. You didn't add to your business. You're replacing business with business. So for me, and just so you know, your MSPs, they will be on top of this. They will be tracking this. When you do a be back or a go back, I certainly expect that you're doing that on your time, not mine, on yours. We have a bunch of JSPs out there that are going to be setting appointments that are depending on you to run their leads. And when we have to take you off the schedule because you got to go do a go back, then all that does is take away opportunity for the JSP. That takes away opportunity for us. And we're having to go back for a second or even a third time to go visit a customer. That is replacing business with business. That is not adding to your business. At the same time, too, when you do go back and you are using company times to do that, that counts as another lead issue to you. So you ran it the first time, you demoed it, and you didn't sell it. You go back to write that up. That's another appointment. That counts twice. It's supposed to, because you took time off the schedule. Therefore, that should count. So B-backs, I strongly suggest we do those during our days off. Or if we're going to be running 10 2s and 6s, you might want to get out there then at about 8:30 in the morning and get that handled. This way you can still run a 10 o'clock appointment. So we are one call closers. That is who
Gary,
we
are you
are.
okay- Are you okay with them using DocuSign to send paperwork out to people?
Yep, I certainly don't have a problem with DocuSign as long as all notes and everything are put in it, that we have covered all the bases that we're supposed to go ahead and cover. Okay? Want to make sure that we're not over promising. We have to make sure that we under promise and over deliver, not over promise and under deliver. Over promising and under delivering is an absolute problem everywhere with every company. People do it all the time. We have got to get past that. We've got to get past that. Okay. Right now, we know that E4 is taking approximately 18 weeks, 19 weeks, 20 weeks. Hell, we got some jobs that are out there 26 weeks now. Okay. So when we're telling people how long is this going to take to get here, you know what, folks? Right about now, what you're looking at is a turnaround time, approximately 10 to as much as 18, 19 weeks. Oh my God, that's a long time. Sure it is. Sure it is. Okay. However, there's a lot of things that could go ahead and happen, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. Clearly, we want to get it out here as quick as we can. But at the same time, too, if the windows come in 7 weeks and we can get them in 8, I would much rather sit here and under promise and over deliver than sit there and over promise and under deliver. How do you feel about that as well? They will pick that every single time. They're going to sit there and say, yeah, I agree. I would. Every now and then you're going to get that person that's going to say, well, you know, I really want these windows going in 8 weeks. Really, what's going on in 8 weeks? Well, we're getting ready to get married. You know, there's going to be a wedding at my house. My son's getting married. Okay, I get that. I do. But check this out, though. Okay, we'll do everything that we can. I can't promise or guarantee that it's going to be there within that 8 weeks. I can't do that. What I can promise you, though, is that we'll do everything within our power to make sure that we apply or we go ahead and get the windows in, so you have a better look for this wedding. However, God willing and the creek don't rise. If we're not able to go ahead and do that, where is that going to put us? Because clearly you're not doing the wedding at your house because you were getting new windows. That's not the reason we're getting married at the house, is because of windows, right? So where would that put us? And then let's find out. I have never lost a deal for that, ever. If you did, then chances are we didn't have a good conversation. You're going to hear all the bull crap that comes up. Well, you know, I was talking to DeBella. DeBella said they can get the windows here in 7 weeks. That's what DeBella told me. I hear you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. I get it. Let me ask you a question here, if you don't mind my asking. This might sound a little strange, but do you vote for the president every 4 years? Do you vote? Sean,
I do vote. I'm a voter.
you're a voter, Shonda?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Whoever you choose to vote for, do you really believe they're going to be able to keep every promise that they make?
No.
You don't?
No.
So why do you vote for them?
I just like finding my people.
Okay. Well, that being said, the reason why they make all the promises they make is to earn your vote. DeBella's going to tell you whatever they're going to be able to tell you to earn your vote, to earn your business. And when the windows happen to not show up in 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 weeks, they're not going to give you your money back. You're already stuck. Okay. This is how to earn your vote. If you want me to earn your vote the same way, I'll tell you, yeah, I'm going to have the windows here in 7 weeks. No problem. So to earn your vote, that's what I'll tell you. But that doesn't change the fact that DeBella has the same challenges with shipping and material as we do. They have the same challenges. So that being said, would you rather I sit there and make a promise I can't keep, or prepare you for some challenges that may come up in the event we can get it out here sooner? We'll go ahead and do that. What would you prefer? You want me to lie or not? That'll overcome it 99.9999% of the time. Okay? Just associate it to what everybody understands. All that a customer is doing is trying to earn their vote. That's all. Because every single contract in this industry has one thing in their contract that we do as well. You cannot hold us hostage for challenges that come up that are beyond our control. Shipping is beyond our control. Windows broken coming in through shipping is beyond our control. Product shortage is beyond our control. You know, factories shutting down because they get a big problem with COVID. That's beyond our control. You know, some firebug going out to the factory and setting the factory on fire. That's beyond our control. Every factory has that in their contract, every company. So there's our out along with everybody else's. So point it out and tell them. Okay. But to lose a deal because somebody can get it in faster, what a load of crap. That means we gave up. Or we didn't do a good enough job in the first place. And that was just their way of being able to get out of Dodge. Cody, you disappeared. Are you still on here?
Maybe I could tinkle.
No, the entire room disappeared.
Gone.
They're gone. Well, I guess they didn't like that part of it. Said, I'm getting out of Dodge. So while we're waiting for them to get back on, Matt, Kim, any questions about the pre-close at all?
No, it seems pretty straightforward and simple.
It is. I mean, literally, you should be able to memorize this overnight for the most part. You should be able to memorize it overnight. Hell, if we can memorize 3 pages of the JSP pitch, we can sure as shit sit there and do this here pretty easy. Cody is texting. We're still on. They may have lost internet over there. So, but for everybody here and for you two that's still on the call, again, our goal here is to get permission to do business today. And at the same time, too, our goal is to be able to get as many objections out as we can that we can address before we present price.
There we go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Alright,
Okay.
you might have gone down to the office, I had to, think our
Well-
internet's got, I had to disconnect from it.
We just got to sell business so we can pay the internet bill.
And buy toilet paper,
And you're what?
and buy toilet paper.
For sure. For sure. You know, or you can just get mittens and then wash it off in the sink.
Is that why they're that good?
That reminds me of a joke. The punchline is, hand me my brown pants.
You know, so does anybody have any questions about the pre-close at all?
Did we miss anything when we were not connected of importance?
I'm sorry?
Did we miss anything important when we were not
Negative.
connected for like 3 minutes?
No, no, we did not. So, pre-close should be very easy for us to memorize. You know, as JSPs, you know, we memorize 3 pages worth of scripting. This isn't even a full page. So we should be able to get through this and memorize this fairly quick. Okay. Pre-close to me is very important because again, it's permission to do business today. It also sets up price or payment, you know. One of the problems, you know, and I've talked to several different people through Apex, and it's, well, you know, I don't really want to go ahead and present a price because, or a payment, when they're sitting there telling me, you know, I only pay cash. Well, part of the reason why people tell you to pay, they only pay cash is because of how Apex goes to, you know, to market in the house when they're pitching. You know, we ask things like, how do you choose to pay for projects like this and stuff like that when we're doing our fact finding or whatever it may be. Okay, I don't like that shit for that very reason right there. I don't like that, not at all. All right. That's not a question that we should even be asking, in my opinion, that early ever. You know? What I do know about financing is the more you finance, the larger your average ticket's going to be. The more you finance, at the same time too, your close tend to sit there and be higher as well. So financing is, there's 100 reasons why financing is better to get that finance inclusion rate up.
We take
There's a
cash.
bunch of them. Do what?
Do we take just cash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can certainly do cash for sure. I mean, cash always works.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Cash always works. I'm not saying to walk away from cash, but when you start asking people how they pay for things, it's always, oh, I don't like to make payments. I don't like to make payments. I don't like to make payments. And we have walked away from so many jobs, it's not even funny, from doing that. So many, because we didn't put a payment in front of them. So many. One of the worst programs to use, and just so you know, when you use a 12-month no interest and no payments, I do not consider that financing, just so you know. Okay, that's still a cash deal. The average person that uses the 12-month no interest, no payments, most of those people could stroke a check whenever they wanted to anyway. Okay, however, they're just trying to hang on to their dough a little longer so their money can make more money for them for that year. But the average person uses a 12-month no, they could stroke a check and pay it off in most cases right away anyway. Okay. I don't care how good you are. Any of you in this room can sell a $300 payment a hell of a lot easier than I can a $30,000 cash deal. It's just easier to sell. The payment's just easier to sell. We just have to make it make sense for some people, that's all. So 7.9 for the 180 months. Let's not walk away from that crap, okay? So I'm gonna do this for you here, and I'm gonna bring Shonda on this phone call. So in Denver, they do not use Green Sky.
Yep.
They use another company called
It's the Renew loan.
Renew Loan,
Mhm.
okay? Their interest starts at 8.16%. And that's only for 60 months. If they wanted to extend the terms to 10 years, the minimum interest that they can use is 9.9% over there. 9.9. Anything beyond 120 months, interest rate gets even higher than that. So what we're offering is a hell of a rate. It really is. When I started talking to Shonda about it, one of the things she brought up is she goes, that's true. She goes, I tried to take a signature loan with Chase because I wanted to borrow $8,000. And I said no to it because the interest they wanted to charge me was 12% on an $8,000 signature loan. Okay. 7.9% for 180 months or whatever it is that we can go out to. Guys, that's a hell of an interest rate. That is a good rate. Especially in today's world where the prime rates are as high as they are. That's a good rate. A good rate. Cannot shy away from that because you don't like 7.9. You don't like 7.9 because you know we used to have a 6.9. And you know about a 0% interest for only a year and all this other bullcrap. What you know doesn't matter. We have to sell what we've got, and putting the smallest payment in front of people is the better way to go because they can always pay it off earlier. So when we were doing the financing thing a little while ago, when we do it this time around, we're going to get in depth into that a lot. So when you're ferreting things down, what you're going to find is that 7.9% for 84 months is not going to be a good plan to fit within their budget of what we ferreted them down to. But the 7.9 for, 10 years or whatever it is, that one is certainly going to be able to. So let's not be afraid of it because you don't like it. But 7.9% is a hell of an interest rate right now, especially when you consider where can you go? Any of you. You all know what your credit standings looks like. Where can any of you go? that you can take out a $20,000 loan on your signature with no collateral for an interest rate of lower than 7.9%. Anybody. I challenge anybody on this call to be able to do it. Anybody.
Cody says his mama.
Yeah, I'll call my mom.
It's an answer. It's an answer.
It is. However, the listening part was on this call, so we might want to get mama on the phone. So the thing is, the higher the dollar amount gets, you're not going to be able to take out a loan like that. Banks just don't loan that amount of money on a signature without there being any collateral unless you're somebody special. And you better be pretty special too. You know, I have got great credit, and I am all credit. I am all credit. And even on my HELOC back in El Paso, on the house that I still have there, the best rate I could find was 8.1%. That's the best I could do. Was 8.1. So
Should have called your mom.
I should have called Cody's mom is what I should have done. So that's what I would tell you. 7.9% is a great rate. However, let's go ahead and go a little farther. Somebody pull up on their iPad. You know what? Never mind. I can fuck it. I'll do it here. I can do it this way.
That does look like an iPad in your hands.
I know it does, huh?
That's a good one.
We're on it today.
So, hey, Code, let me ask you, on that 7.9%, what's the farthest we can extend the terms on that? Is it 120 months or 180 or 180?
Oh, what was,
He's asking you.
I thought you were talking to them in that room. What was your question?
The question, Cody, is at 7.9%, can we extend to only 120 or 180?
120. The 180 is 9.99.
Okay, so 120. So let's do this. Let's take 20K for 10 years at an interest rate of 7.99.
41.
That's a payment of $243. This is gonna round up and they'll throw a fee on something like this. That's what it'll do. So at 243, okay, the interest on this is gonna be $9,105. So at $20,000.
Terry, I'm wrong because when we changed when they changed the merchant fees, they did give us that one on there too. So we do have a 7.99 for 180 months fixed rate plan.
Okay, so we'll use that one instead.
The 6.9 for 20. Yeah, but he was asking for 180.
Go parts 7 or something different.
No, we're getting off tilt just a bit because this all matters, so we're good here. I'm proving a point. So we do 180, so that's gonna be 15 years with an interest rate of 7.99. Calculate that out. That is gonna be interest of $14,382. So interest of $14,382. That is interest. This is gonna be 20,000 at 15 years. So somebody take their calculator and take 14,382 and divide that by 180.
Yeah.
79.
What is it?
0.8.
180.
79.
So
I think that's
what we want to do is we want to take the amount of interest and divide that by the length of time we're financing it. So in this case here, we're financing for 180 months. So what we do is we take the amount of interest, which is what this is gonna be, is interest. We divide that by 180 months equals how much?
79, 80 bucks.
Basically $79 and change, or $80.
There's also just, like apps like this that you guys can download if you want to, that will show you the monthly payment, monthly interest, total amount on here too. If you ever want to do this, just play around with it.
Yeah, you know, what's the app called is what they're asking.
I'll share it in the group.
Okay, but the bottom line is this. The average person doesn't have a credit card in their wallet that they can borrow 20 grand on an unsecured note, finance it for this length of time, and pay this little bit of interest per month. Because if a customer never pays this thing off early, ever, all they're paying is $79 a month. At the same time, when we do the glass package demo, and we ask the customer the question, in your mind, what do you believe you're gonna save on your heating and cooling costs? If they say, I don't know, $30, now what I can do is take the $79 in interest, subtract the $30 that they said they're gonna save. So in theory, they net out in interest at only $49 a month instead of $79. And for $49 a month, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, for this length of time, well, to say no here would be absolute insanity, to be honest with you. Especially for this quality and whatnot, we can go through all the things we're gonna go through. Yes,
Does Green Sky do fines, fees, or penalties to paying off early?
No.
With what you guys do? Okay.
no, so obviously, as all of us know too, what Shonda has brought up, is there a penalty for early payoff? Yeah, obviously, we all know the answer is no, right? You know, this is a simple interest loan, so any money that anybody send in gets above the minimum payment required, 100% of the money goes to the principal. And at the same time too, there is no penalty for early payoff. The only penalty would be they get to pay it off early. That's all. They'll pay less interest. At the same time, you're looking at a payment of only $191 a month for a $20,000 project,
Where'd you get 191 from?
because that's what the payment comes out to be.
Just 20,000 divided by 15.
No, the payment, there's a payment factor for it. So the payment factor for what's half of 191? Take 191 divided by 2 real quick.
85.
95.
95. So that means the payment factor is 0.0095. So it's less than 1%. So I'll explain that to you guys later. Okay. So at $191 a month on a $20,000 project for 15 years, that's a hell of a payment. That's a tiny ass payment that they can make. So if they can pay this thing off earlier, it just means they're going to pay a lot less interest. That's all. But that's what we have to do. We have to break that down. If not, you get somebody like Ryland right now. When he said that, he said, "Holy shit, $14,382 in interest on a $20,000. That's nuts." And well, it kind of sort of is, if you look at it that way, or if we look at it a different way. In order to go ahead and upgrade your house, protect your family, protect the largest investment you're going to make in a lifetime, and all those things, at an interest rate of only $79 a month, if you never pay it off early, when your savings is going to be $30 a month anyway, is what you were telling me. You only out of pocket $49 a month, technically, sir. And for $49 a month, you don't have a credit card in your wallet that you can borrow that kind of money for that length of time and that little bit of interest rate. That's a hell of a deal, being sad if you don't do it. It's insane if you don't do it. Wouldn't you agree?
They're gonna pay more, they would put it off and do cash. I've had 4 homeowners that called me back like 2.5 years after I originally sat down with them. And just due to the cost increases, they paid so much more than they would have in interest.
Mhm.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. So That's what we wanna make sure that we're doing, you know? So that's part of the reason why we pre-close. We pre-close to be able to get permission also to put a payment in front of them. But if you're asking up front and doing all that fact finding, and then they say, oh yeah, we pay everything cash because we don't like to make the payments and we don't like to pay interest. Now all of a sudden, you have taken a major bullet away from yourself and a major bullet away from being able to sit there and write more business now because of that. Major. So why put yourself in that spot? Yes, Shonda.
This might take us slightly in a different direction, but do you guys allow, if somebody wants to put you guys do the split, the 30-60-10, would you guys allow somebody to put 30 down on a credit card and then spend the rest of the time doing a HELOC, or do you put it off until the HELOC is like completed?
Well, I mean, that's more of a manager thing. So the question on the table that Shonda was asking, if you guys didn't hear it, is, I guess if a person is going through a HELOC, can we get 30% down and then wait for the HELOC to be done?
Yeah.
Okay. You could.
Jared, that is in the standard operating protocol, so you can do that. It has to be in writing that if they don't get approved for the HELOC, that they're still on the hook for it. So really, it's a cash on completion where they have the option to switch over to like financing or HELOC, and the language for that is in the Apex standard operating protocol.
Right. That's what I was saying. You could do it. You know, it's dicey, but you could do it.
Okay.
Because if they end up not getting the HELOC, all of a sudden now they're still on the hook. And if they can't finance it, then how are they going to pay for it if they don't have the cash for it? So now you have a different kind of a problem, you know?
What is a HELOC?
Home equity loan.
One
Okay.
other thing, if I can add one thing to that, Terry, especially these days, that's a benefit that we have right now, is in the past, people have been scared of interest. But what we really need to put on the radar is that what they should be scared of is inflation. With how much that's accelerating over the last handful of years and how everything's getting more and more expensive, who the hell knows how expensive windows will be in 5 years? You know, so like lock it in on today's prices, pay an interest rate that you know what it is, you're locking it in. That's a safer bet than playing on for 5 years and rolling the dice on, you know, what it'll be like then.
Oh, 100% agree. I mean, there's a lot of roads that we can go down when we start getting to more into that, but for sure. I mean, hell, the price of milk goes up every, you know, other than gas, nothing goes back in price. Everything just gets more and more expensive, you know? So again, doing something sooner rather than later is the better way to go. As we start to go through all of these things, you'll start to see where the stuff we were doing earlier is starting to pop up now on the back end, right? When we sat there and asked the 3-part question, you know, doing Windows someday, Windows costing money on a daily basis, would you agree doing something sooner rather than later is a better way to go? Now all of a sudden we get down into 4 steps later to step number 7, you know, doing something sooner rather than later. We're right back to that conversation now. Now what we're doing is bringing everything to the forefront, trying to do it now. We start out with pushing things off. You're not going to do it right now. I get it. You know, if we eventually ever got around to doing this sooner or later type of thing. But as we go forward, we start closing the time frame till we eventually get it to now. Okay. And then what we want to do is once we get into the close, then I'll show you how we're going to go ahead and present price. You guys have seen some of it already, but I'll show you how we present price then. For some of you, you're going to have heartburn over it. I'll just tell you up front, and I do understand. I do. And I'm not mad at you for those that are going to have the heartburn over it. I get it. I'll still disagree though, but I do get it. Apex does not like to quote unquote negotiate price. However, what's funny about that is Apex is okay with negotiating price depending on how you negotiate. I found that out when I was in Chicago. Okay. I said, I thought you couldn't do that. Well, that's a little bit different. Okay. In order for somebody to do business today, we've got to be able to show them a price that matters. Okay. We've got to be able to show the difference of $30,000 versus $22,381. This shit about going, well, it's $25,000 a day, or it'll be $27,000 later. That's not enough money to move a job and move the needle on that amount of money. $2,000 on 27,000 or 25,000 isn't shit. $2,000 on 6 or 8 or 10,000, that's a lot. But not on $27,000, it's not. So the goal here is to put a price in front of them that, hey, look, this is the best thing I can get you today, right now, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Will some customers have heartburn over that? Of course they will. Of course. I don't like that. I don't like if I do that. Personally, I don't care what they like. I don't care. Fry's doesn't care. Safeway across the street over there in Portland doesn't care. You walk in there and you've got ribeye steaks on sale for $5.99 a pound. You go back in tomorrow and the sale is off. You sit there and say, look, I want it for $5.99. Should have came in yesterday. Yeah, but I had to think about it. Okay, well, good. Then think about whether you're going to pay $13.99 and get steak or walk out of here with steakless. How do you want to handle it? But they're not going to sit there and lower their price just because the day before their price was a sale price. They're not going to do it. The car guy's not going to do it. You know, that's just the way that it is. You go to buy a house. Well, this house was $500,000 3 days ago. Now it's $525,000. Well, I guess you should have bought it 3 days ago then. Too bad, so sad. I feel bad for you. I do. I can feel for you, but I just can't reach you. But I do feel for you. I know you're there. So we can't sit there and be tripping over that. Okay? It happens all the time. People see it every single day. But we've got to be able to put a price in front of people that will move the needle and then stand our ground. You know, when a customer says, okay, well, give me 3 or 4 days, give me a week or whatever, can't do it, folks. Right now, I can secure this price for you this way. However, this price right here, it's good for a year. You call me back in 7 days and this is where we're going to be at. I just can't do this. That's just the way that it is. Can't do it. Can't do it. You know, and then we'll deal with the customer that wants to talk crap later. You know, we'll start working that when we get into step 8. But, you know, there's ways to get around most of that stuff without being a shyster. But at the same time, your time is worth something. To go back to a house 2 and 3 times, which I know most of you on this call has done, is absolute asinine to me. To go back that many times and then still be going back at the same price every time. That's absolutely nuts. You're insane. Your time's worth a hell of a lot more than that. And you're worth more than that. That's crazy. So anyway, that's step number 7, and that's everything. I'm going to cut you guys loose early today so you don't have to keep listening to my little ass so much today. You get a hall pass from Shorty today.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry.
Okay.
Thanks, Terry.
If we don't have any questions, then I'll let you guys go. Mark, do me a favor. Give me a call right now. Let me know how that thing went. So as soon as we hang up, give me a call.
Terry, I got a quick.
Sounds good.
Oh, wait, hold on. Don't hang up. What's the question?
Step 5, going through it, one of the things listed, closed jam liner. What is that?
So glad you got that.
All right. I can't see you, but I hear the boys. Who is this talking? Is this Big Game James?
Tanner. Portland, Tanner.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Tanner. I could barely see you, bro. You know, because you're kind of a tiny person. You're hiding behind your iPad. What was the question, Tanner? I'm sorry, man. What was the question?
It lists under step 5, going through the inspection, it says closed jam liner versus open jam liners.
Right. So, Cody will be able to explain that to you better because you can actually see it right there. But we have closed jam liners. As a closed jam liner means you won't have to see the inside of the window where the working mechanism and everything is. So, Code, when we hang up, if you can go ahead and show that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a different term. It's the continuous balance cover is what Apex has called it. So anyone who's around will know by that.
I was wondering.
Yeah. Continuance balance cover, you can call it that. Again, some of the terminology I'm gonna use, guys, tomato, okay? It's like Provia. Provia calls a patio door, a sliding glass door is a patio door, all right? A single swinging French door, I grew up calling it a French atrium door. So my apologies for some of the terminology, guys. Again, creature of habit, so I do apologize. So if you can show them that and go over that, Cody, that'd be awesome.
Yep, all right then.
Gary, I got one.
Yeah.
Just one question. So until we get the heat lamp kit, and start showing the actual demos with that and showing the Apex glass and all that, I was just curious to see what your thoughts are on like some of the key distinct features are from, say, the Cardinal 366 that Anderson and Ellen and a lot of other companies use. The difference between that type of low E and like what we're using, for example, and why is that SHGC? Why is there a big difference between the two?
Well, the big difference between the two is not so much the low E coating itself. It's the actual rest of the window itself. So in our case, we're going to be lower on some of that stuff because it's triple pane instead of double. At the same time, too, if you compare that to, let's say, Provia's, where they use 100% pure temperature ignorant deal. Then you take a company like, their spacer is a polypropylene spacer with no metal in it at all. It's not so much the low E coating. Truth be told, Jimmy, most low E coatings, because they are soft coating low E's on your high performance low E coatings, if you just took the coatings all by themselves, they're all really, 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 really close together, really close. Okay, really, really close. Typically within anywhere from say 0.23 to 0.26, all by themselves. It's what they call clear base glass. So for example, the best low E coating in the country right now is called the TIA AC23. The TIAC 23. It is put out by Flat Glass North America. Now, they call it the TIAC 23 because it comes in with a solar heat gain coefficient of 0.23 on clear base glass. So when they're just doing low E coatings by themselves, low E coatings are rated on clear base glass, one piece of glass, and that's it. And it's rated on that. Not so much double. It's just on the clear base glass itself, and that's it. So when you're looking at it that way, really and truly, man, the difference between one high performance low E coating to another, you will have to be a thermometer, have mercury in your veins to actually be able to tell the difference, to be honest with you. So I don't get into that a whole lot, other than to talk about hard coat versus soft coat, depending on what somebody is trying to do. So when somebody says, look, I had a quote, I want blinds, so-and-so gave me a quote on double pane window with blinds in it, that's when I'm going to jump on right there and really get into low E coatings now. Because in order to have a window with blinds in it, if it's double pane, either there's no low E in it at all, or you can only put hard coat, and that's it. You cannot put soft coated window or low E in a double pane window with blinds. That's when it comes up, and that's when I would get after it. Okay. The reason you can't put argon gas, just so you know, is because you have movable parts. The blinds have to be able to open and close and go up and down. Though they use magnets, they're still movable parts though. So what happens is the argon gas gets out. Okay. One of the drawbacks with windows with blinds in them is over time, they get dirt and dust inside, and then you can't clean it.
Mhm.
At the same time, that has nothing to do with the gas making a problem for the blinds. That's all bullshit. That's just because you can't keep it in there because of the blinds themselves and that they move. With soft coated low E, because it's actually sprayed onto the glass on surface 2 or 3. When you go to open and close that window, the blinds move around. So if the blind touches the low E, it'll immediately scratch right away. So the only way to prevent that is to put hard coated in it. Because the only way to ruin hard coated low E is to break the glass. So that's why it's not going to be near as energy efficient. So it's only, do I really get into low E coating really? Is when I run across something like that, or I'm trying to muddy up the waters when somebody's trying to tell me in the beginning that they don't need their husband and their wife to make this decision because they've already talked to each other about it. Then I'll get into low E then, that way. And of course, I'll exaggerate, you know, what kind of low E are you looking for? Hard coat, soft coat? You want soft titanium, sputter low E, TIAC 23, solar band 60, solar band 70, solar band 90. Are you looking for the Cardinal 366? I mean, what are you looking for? That's just fancy stuff, meaning it's all basically the same, but I know the customer doesn't know it, and I know it.
So Terry, that I have a question too. So with the hard coat Louis, so the only way to mess that up is to break the glass. On like the Provia site, when you pick one of those that has the hard coat Louis, like a warning comes up that says you have to clean it specially in extreme flare when cleaning, otherwise it can damage the hard coat Louis surface.
Well, that's different. I'm talking about natural wear and tear. The problem with low E, hard coated low E is this. I mean, the basic makeup, one of the main ingredients of low E coating is silver. Okay, that's exactly what it is. It's freaking silver. All right. With hard coated low E, the low E coating is actually put into the glass when the glass is in its molten stage. As it dries, what happened is if this is the glass here, the silver wants to come up here and come down here. That's what it wants to do. So if you were to take a cotton ball or a napkin and you were to rub up against it with that, it'll stick real nasty. Kind of like trying to do that on real fine sandpaper. Okay. So the challenge is, depending on what you're using, when you're rubbing that damn thing, what you then start doing is you start shaving off the silver is what you start doing. So as you start removing the silver, then the low E coating doesn't work as well. It's not going to break the glass. It just starts chopping silver off is what happens. So
that makes sense. Can you see that happening? Does it change it aesthetically, or you just stops working as effectively?
No, it stops working. Where you'll be able to tell the difference is the more you do it, the smoother the glass will start to become. You know, I remember I was making fun of my sister one time. She had this thing, you know, and she was sandpapering the back of her heel and shit. And fucking skin was going everywhere. I was tripping. I said, man, what's your nasty ass and what are you doing? Well, she started showing me, you know, with a cotton ball and all this. So I've always thought of it that way. It's like doing that. The more you do it, it'll smooth out. And that's how you know you're ruining it. Plus, the window will start to absorb more heat now. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to really ruin it per se as far as break the glass. But to ruin it, you got to really bust the glass or just rub the shit down. That's all.
Hey, Terry.
Yeah, Mark.
When they talk about triple layer silver or whatnot, like, you know, most windows come with either one or two layers, if I understand correctly, of low E. And we have a third layer or a fourth layer. Do you know where we're at in terms of that goes? Because I mean, obviously the tales of lore that we've heard from certain trainers that proliferated throughout the country, you know, it's always a question. How many coats of low E do we actually have?
Truth be told,
and on what surface?
Truth be told, I don't know because I don't really care. I mean, I'm being dead serious. I don't really care. Because again, the difference is not much. For example, you take the Smart Sun Low E4, which is the Cardinal 366. Okay, in theory on that Cardinal 366, it's got 16 layers of shit there. Your basic low E coating is basically silicon dioxide, titanium dioxide, and silver. So you got a couple layers of this or that, then the silver, a couple more layers in the silver, a couple more layers in the silver. Okay. In the end, it's a soft coated low E coating. It's a very high performance low E coating, and you're going to get hell of a solar heat gain ratings on that puppy. You really are. Layer wise, nobody gives a hoot. And that's coming from somebody that loves to sit there and talk windows and say this shit. And most people, when you start getting that granular into low E coatings, will absolutely lose them on that. That is, you're getting on a way granular level on that. So God's honest truth, if I can answer it truthfully, I have no idea, partner. The only reason why I know about Renewal by Anderson's is because they used to like to make that a big damn deal. I used to hear it all the time, 16 layers, 16 layers, 16 layers. Okay, whatever. It's,
Well, when they do it on a triple pane window though, like which surfaces are they actually applying it to? 16 layers, one layer doesn't matter, but like, is it generally just on the layer, 2 and 5 in a triple pane?
Mark, you guys are talking about different things. You're talking about how many like layers are in each surface coating of the low E. I mean, that's what Jerry's talking about. And you're talking about like what pieces it's on, right? Inside of the outside glass, outside, like that.
so if you're asking the question that way, Mark, then you're gonna have our low E should be on the inside of the outside piece of glass, and it should be on the inside of the center piece of glass. Is
That's
where
free
you're-
surfaces.
It's gonna be on, depending on how we're numbering. So let's just assume we number from inside to out. So this is surface 1, 2, we're gonna be on surface 3, and we're gonna be on surface 5. Is where we're gonna do. For the obvious reason, because you want it closer to the outside to prevent the heat from coming in. So on a triple pane window, you could put 2 layers like that. On a double pane layer, you cannot do that on double pane.
Yeah, so the
So is
center-
double pane typically just on that outside layer
Yes.
or that outside? The inside of the outside surface?
So let's clear it up for everybody. Here is a double pane window here. Inside, outside. Your low E coating, if it's numbered, surfaces 1, 2, 3, 4. Then your low E coating on a double pane window is gonna be right here on surface 3. If that company numbers from the outside going in, then it's gonna be on surface 2. But either way, it's gonna be the inside surface of the outside window. All right? If you take a triple pane window, and again, let's just assume we're numbering from the inside, then what you're gonna have is, oh shit. That wasn't good. Then what you're gonna have is surface 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Which means if this is the outside, we should be here and we should be here with low E. Why? Because if you go here and here, then you allow the heat that's passing through the low E to fill up more of the cavities. So you want to try to keep as much of it out. So we're trying to trap most of it here, not from here to here, but from here to here. So that's why it's going to be here. You cannot put low E coating. You cannot put low E in an area like here and here. That you can't do. On a triple pane window, you cannot put low E here and here. This side, yes, this side, no. Or you can't put it here and here. They have to be on different glasses in a different space. If you keep them in the same space, the glass will break. The glass will bust, okay? And the damn thing will bust quick too, usually in the summer. Especially in a place like Arizona, you won't even get through a summer and the damn thing will break. So here's why, just for your benefit. this is a good thing to know because there are a lot of double pane window companies out there telling people that they have low E coating on both surfaces 2 and 3. That's a load of bullshit. The only way they can do that is if it's soft coat and hard coat. You have a chance to get away with it that way. But 2 high performance low E coatings, that is not going to happen. So here's why. What happens is when the sun's rays hits the windows, part of the low E will bounce the heat away, but part of it still goes through. So when it goes through and it hits this low E coat, part of it will pass, but then part of it bounces back, which part of it will pass out and then part of it bounces back. So what happens is you get heat bouncing back and forth in between the 2 panes of glass. Well, heat is energy. When we didn't have electricity and gas and crap like that, for trains and ships and things like that, what did we use? Heat, coal, wood. The more it heats up, the faster the energy, the more energy it builds, till eventually that energy builds and it busts the glass. Okay? So you can't put high performance low E coating on the inside surfaces of the same IG unit. You can, however, put low E coating on separate on separate glass as long as it's in separate IG units. In this case here, this and this is separate IGs, so you can do that. But you can't do it in double unless it's hard coat and soft coat, and that's not guaranteed, but it'll give you a chance.
I have a question, Terry.
Yep.
So with our double pane, does that have a soft coat and a hard coat, or is it just the one single soft coat? And the reason I ask that is with AMI too, and it'll come up with GDI. I mean, we install triple pane windows directly next to double pane windows. And there's really no difference in the look on those. In fact, they were so confident in it. I've wrote up numerous contracts where Grant approved to say if the homeowners could perceive any visual difference, that we would replace the triple pane ones with double pane. So how does that not affect the look of it when you're looking through it, do you know?
Well, so it depends on how you're looking through it. So if you're on the outside looking, or if you're on the outside looking in, the difference won't be hardly the same at all, providing the low E coating is basically the same. You know, you got different color variations in low E coating, right? The TIAC 23 is a blue glass, for example. Aniline has what they call a blue glass. Some of them are going to be green, some are going to be a dark gray or a gray. It just depends. As long as it's the same shade, then the high performance low E coating, for the most part, the windows on the outside are going to be the same. However, the difference actually becomes on the inside, because triple pane glass is 3 pieces of glass as opposed to double pane being double. Your visible light transmittance is reduced coming in because your light is passing through 3 objects instead of 2. So that's where the variance is going to be, if there is any at all, in the look of the glass. It shouldn't be on the outside looking in unless there's just a difference in color in the low E. The difference is going to be on the inside looking out, because as the sun is coming in, there may be a visible difference that you can see because there's going to be less light coming in. Okay, so
if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying like having 2 coats of low E versus 1 coat of low E doesn't really change the darkness, it's just the extra piece of glass. Is that what you said? Because I'm just curious, we have homeowners who are very adamant about it, and they said they could not tell the difference between the triple and the double pane window that is literally mold to it.
right.
So,
Well, and that's, so there's 2 challenges there. Number one, they're wrong. Okay, first off, but it may be enough that they can't pick up the difference, that they can't see it, but there is a difference there. I mean, it's like color, right? The human eye typically cannot pick up 2 or 3 shade difference in a color. The human eye can't pick up that type of difference. The difference between 26 degrees and 29 degrees, you can't tell the difference in that. We can't tell that. So technically, they're wrong because there is a difference. Number one, you've got 2 coats of low E there, and number 2, you have light passing through 3 different pieces of glass instead of 2. So if we were to sit there and take like a micrometer of measuring shit like that, there would actually be a difference, Cody, for sure. But that particular customer is saying, and a handful of them are saying, no, I can't tell the difference. But yet some other customer may look at that and say, yeah, I can tell the difference. This is lighter than this side. Both sides are correct, just so you know. So what I'm trying to say is there a difference? There actually is, because of the amount of layers that light is passing through. Okay, so there is a difference for sure. It just may not be the type of difference that those people's human eye can pick up, but there is one for sure. If you look at your NFRC label and you look at the VT, which is your visible light transmittance, you'll see the difference on that right away. Right away. Double pane versus triple. You'll see it right away.
Thanks for clarifying on that. Going back to what Mark was saying about whether the panes it's on 3 and 5 versus 2 and 5. Back when we were with Allside, we were always told that center pane on a triple pane window is clear glass. We were told it was at 2 and 5. Maybe that's something we can clarify if that's the case, or if it is 3 and 5.
Ask the question again.
So when we had the Insignia E2 and 3 coming from Allside, we were told that on the triple pane window, the center pane was clear glass, had no low E on it. So maybe that's the case with Champion, or maybe it is on 3 and 5. We can clarify that.
We can, because again, you can put the low E
On 2.
here and here, or here and here. You can do that.
Yeah.
A large part of it is depends on where you're at also. So, for example, in Portland, in Seattle, Salt Lake City, where it's a lot colder there, and you don't have the harsher sun like we do in Phoenix, you actually would want to put that here and here because of the heat that escapes in the wintertime. So you want to get your low E closer to where the heat is at. However, in Arizona, you would want that here and here because of the tremendous heat. So the answer to your question could be yes to all of that, depending on how they're building that and the location that it's going to also, Jimmy, just so you know. Again, you guys don't have 120-degree heat out there, but we're never going to see 29 degrees. And if we do, well, the population of Phoenix will go from 4.4 million people to 12 people, because everybody will leave and head to the equator. Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask Brett how they typically do that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they change that up a little bit based on the location that the window is going to because of weather, though. Typically what you want, though, is you want the low E closer to where the heat source is going to be. So,
Makes sense.
does that make sense? Okay, so I don't know. Like I said, it could vary, But what I can tell you is you cannot put it on the same one.
And just out of curiosity, so this is the obscured glass. I don't know if you can see this, the obscured glass like layout from AMI. And what it says here is surface 2 has low E, which is the inside of there, and surface 3 has low E. So this is saying with like the obscured glass that they are inside of that same one. Do you know if is that because it must be a hard coat? Like, does it have to be?
Then you would be a hard coat on that.
Okay, interesting. So we probably have hard coats on A. And the thing about that probably does make sense is because it's on maybe the center one is the hard coat, so it doesn't have that rough surface anyway on the outside of it.
Right.
Sealed
Yeah.
in there.
When you run across a double pane window with hard coat, you're gonna know it if you do the rubbing thing. It's no denying it's there right away. It's weird.
Hey,
It's
Terry,
weird.
one last question. Why are windows so goddamn complicated?
Do what?
Why are windows so goddamn complicated?
Well, they're actually not. We make it complicated so we can sit there and try to be smarter in the house than what we really are. So as we can try to sell more windows that way.
I liked your first demo. Here's the window, the inside and out. Done.
But like I said, it's cool. This is way harder than selling a lot of other stuff. I mean, if you really think about it, you look at the competition that we have here. I mean, for those of you who have not, if you guys don't know how to use the NFRC, you really need to learn to use the NFRC's website. You need to use it. You need to learn how to use it. Okay. I don't mean to look up windows because you're not gonna know what the hell you're looking up. Nobody is. It's not user friendly that way. What I like about the NFRC label or using the NFRC's website though, is the NFRC's website will tell me how many window manufacturers there actually are. That at the very least is doing business in the United States. And the last time I checked, it was 693. So you think about that for a minute. There are 693 different companies manufacturing their own window. Forget making selling windows, just actually making windows. You would be hard pressed to find another industry that has that many manufacturers of the same type of product. You'd have a hard time doing that. Cars, they don't have it. Refrigerators, they don't have it. Stuff like that. So with so many different window choices and companies that are out there, this is an extremely, extremely, extremely competitive industry. Extremely. So that's part of the hard, though, is because there's so many contractors and window guys out there selling different crap, saying different stuff. It's just, that's part of what makes it complicated too, though, is that. But going through that website and knowing how to go through it, it is beneficial. I can't speak for any other state except for the city of Phoenix and the city of Tucson. In Phoenix and Tucson, DeBella out there loves to tell people that they are the manufacturer of their window. There's another company out there called Desert King Windows that loves to tell everybody that they manufacture their own window and it is specifically made for their environment. The advantage to the NFRC's website is I can go into that website, explain to the customer why those companies are in there and that the law requires them to be there. And when I look up DeBella, they're not there. When I look up Desert King Windows, they are not there. If you look up Apex Energy Solutions, we are not there. And the reason we're not is because we don't manufacture our own window. So for companies to sit there and say that, yeah, we do it, this is a good way when you know that that's bullcrap. Let's look it up and find out and then let them know, hey, look, folks, they lied to you. They did. So if they're going to lie to you about something as simple as this, what else would they tell stories about just to get you to do business with them? In our case, what we tell them is, look, we are a full service company. We do in fact make our own window because that window is made for us by Champion or GDI, which is who we are them. They are us. We are owned by the same place. We're all family here. Okay. But it's great to be able to use that NFRC's website for those kind of cheesy companies that do crap like that. So if you don't know how to do it, I would learn to do it.
Blatantly lying, or they have setups kind of like Apex where they're part of another family of brands. So when you search for Desert King, but they're part of, George Blow's Windows.
Well, so the answer is no. They're not. Desert King Windows, for example, sells the Window Mart window out of Royal, Arkansas. Okay, that's just who they choose to buy their window from. DeBella, on the other hand, they sell a couple different brands of windows. It isn't just the Mezzo window. They sell some other different crap too. So, again, it's good to know it for those companies that are saying stuff like that we can be able to, again, if we can raise doubt in somebody's mind, then that's the way to go, right? If that doubt makes, oh, you know what? I just thought of this. Now, I just fucking thought of it right now. You're the Simply Safe guys. Check this out, everybody. My man here, he's the Simply Safe guy. Remember the mask, the big mustache? He keeps thinking wherever I keep seeing the Simply Safe. You're the Simply Safe guy. And the other dude that comes on what's that other commercial that they're doing right now? It's these two guys. Oh my God, when it comes up, I'm gonna take a picture of it. You're that guy. Okay, never mind. I got off tilt. It finally came to me. Where have I seen him at? The Simply Safe man. So
Curious.
I don't
Like,
know,
you scroll
I
down-
don't know.
Scroll down a couple where he's got the mask.
Peter Davis style.
Look, okay, look, check this out though.
Is this what you were thinking, this right here, Terry?
Yes, so if you take, if you, we're holding that picture up right next to him.
That was just 5 years ago.
And if you take the add hair or take away hair, it does, it looks, this is the Simply Safe man. They got the same picture.
They got-
That's the Simply Safe guy.
Let's do
Double
it.
S, baby, Simply Safe, double S. So if you want a more energy efficient and secure window and door, not only will we do that, but we're gonna send the Simply Safe man to your house. So, anyway, any more questions for me? Did I answer them all?
Yep.
Terry.
Thanks, Terry, appreciate it.
All righty, Whitey, you guys be careful. Big game, glad to see you're back. Hope you're feeling better, buddy. Mark, give me a call.
Call you right now.